Xiaofan's Wuxia Tales. Chapter 46:11. The special reward was a high-level Divine Spirit Dragon martial arts technique. Kong Xinmu could choose one of the 10 high-level Divine Spirit Dragon martial arts techniques. This time, they also exchanged for a lot of Guardian points. These Guardian points, in addition to the Guardian points that the 5 of them had received before, could be exchanged for another high-level Divine Spirit Dragon martial arts technique. A total of 2 high-level Divine Spirit Dragon martial arts techniques. Moreover, they also obtained the storage treasures of the 4 members of the Talisman Water Tribe. There were many good things of the Talisman Water Tribe, including some cultivation resources and some combat weapons that were equivalent to dragon weapons. Adding all these things together, Kong Xinmu chose to exchange them for Guardian points, because they were useless to them. Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Arts Academy could exchange these items with the powerhouses of the ancient Phoenix clan behind them for cultivation resources that were useful to dragon martial artists. Now that the dragon gods could not care about the situation here, the cultivation resources could only be provided by the ancient Phoenix clan. Otherwise, even if they had Guardian points, they would not be able to exchange them for any cultivation resources. The cultivation resources of the 4 great dragon martial academies were equally scarce. Fortunately, Kong Xinmu had obtained many good things this time. The cultivation resources and combat weapons of the Talisman Water Tribe could be exchanged for many cultivation resources to be provided to the other students of the Emperor Shi Dragon Martial Academy. As for Kong Xinmu and the others, they would save up the Guardian points that they had exchanged for. They did not intend to break through to the next realm. As for the grade of the Divine Dragon's blood essence, it was not an easy matter. It was not just a matter of cultivation resources, but also required time to settle. Therefore, they were not in a hurry. Therefore, they decided to slowly save up the Guardian points that they had recently saved up and exchange them for 5 high-level Divine Spirit Dragon martial arts techniques first. Now, they already had 2. They decided that Kong Xinmu would choose one first, and Ran would choose another. Xiao Yuhua, Xiao Bai, and Liang Xiao would wait until the next time they exchanged for high-level Divine Spirit Dragon martial arts techniques. They would give them to Xiao Bai to cultivate first. Anyway, it was only a difference of 1 or 2 months. And for high-level Divine Spirit Dragon martial arts techniques to truly display their power, they would have to cultivate for at least half a year before they could succeed. They directly raised the high-grade Source Dragon martial technique to the high-grade Divine Spirit Dragon martial technique. The difficulty of cultivating it was extremely high. Most likely, by the time all 5 of them had gathered the advanced Divine Spirit Dragon martial techniques, Kong Xinmu, who had obtained the advanced Divine Spirit Dragon martial technique first, would not have been able to successfully cultivate it. After all, the advanced Divine Spirit Dragon martial technique was too difficult to cultivate. Therefore, this time, Kong Xinmu and the others did not exchange any cultivation resources. Regardless of whether it was his cultivation realm or the grade of the Divine Dragon's legacy blood essence, there was not much improvement for the time being. He was only nurturing, brewing, and consolidating his foundation step by step. They had advanced and broken through too quickly. Perhaps they hadn't even unleashed 70% of their full power. Therefore, he had to settle down. Next, Kong Xinmu and Ran went to choose the high Divine Spirit Dragon martial technique. The advanced Divine Spirit Dragon martial technique was the strongest dragon martial technique that any dragon martial artist below the Super Divine Dragon could cultivate. It was extremely difficult to cultivate and was definitely not something that could be cultivated in a short period of time. However, the earlier one cultivated it, the more benefits there would be. At the very least, when others had just obtained the advanced Divine Spirit Dragon martial technique, Kong Xinmu and the others had already started cultivating it for a long time. Even if they had not cultivated it to a very high level, they would still be able to execute it. Not to mention other things, even if they had just successfully cultivated the advanced divine spirit dragon martial technique, its power and effect would be comparable to a peak heaven-grade origin source dragon martial technique. Therefore, this time, Kang Xinmu planned to choose an attack-type advanced divine spirit dragon martial technique. His current defense was already strong enough. Even if some of his opponent's attacks could seriously injure him and make it hard for him to block them, that was because his foundation was too weak. Under such circumstances, even if he cultivated the advanced divine spirit dragon martial technique's body tempering dragon martial technique, the increase in his defense would not reach the level of qualitative change. At most, it would double. Moreover, it would be extremely difficult to cultivate. For the divine dragon tyrant body technique, he had expended a lot of cultivation resources to raise it to its current peak heaven grade. One must know that this advanced origin source dragon martial technique was not something that could be cultivated easily. If he wanted to break through to the next realm of the divine dragon tyrant body technique, he would need to supplement some precious materials. These precious materials could not be found in the dragon martial continent. They were all obtained by Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Academy from the Dragon God realm. Therefore, Kang Xinmu had spent a lot of resources in this area. If he cultivated another body-tempering dragon martial technique, he would become stronger. However, because his foundation was not strong enough, there would be a limit to how strong he could become. There are 8 attack-type advanced divine spirit dragon martial techniques here. I need to choose one with the darkness attribute. 9th stage Extreme Dao Dragon Explosion. Kang Xinmu quickly set his eyes on this advanced divine spirit dragon martial technique with the darkness attribute. To him, this should be a rather suitable move. Regarding this, the demonic god ancestor and the black dragon consciousness in his mind did not express any opinion. After all, the demonic god ancestor did not do much research on dragon martial techniques. As for the black dragon consciousness, it could not be bothered with what dragon martial technique Kang Xinmu cultivated. This 9th stage Extreme Dao Dragon Explosion was cultivated by the 9th stage Extreme Dao Dragon Explosion, which was unleashed in the form of dragon breath. Thus, unlike ordinary high-grade divine spirit dragon martial techniques, the cultivation process of the 9-stage Extreme Dao Flood Dragon Burst was divided into 9 stages from the first stage, not from the human grade to the earth grade, and then from the dragon grade to the heaven grade. The 9-stage Extreme Dao Roaring Dragon Explosion. Every time a stage was cultivated, its power would double. If all 9 stages were successfully cultivated, the power would increase by 9 times. This was a rather terrifying attack power. One must know that even Xiao Yuhua's Phoenix Dance Burning the Sky and Xiao Bai's Ice Breaking Sky Slash, these advanced origin source dragon martial techniques could only increase the power of their attacks by 2 to 3 times when cultivated to the sacred grade. However, as long as the 9th stage Extreme Dao Dragon Explosion was cultivated to the 3rd stage, it would be able to reach the sacred grade. Moreover, the 9th stage Extreme Dao Dragon Explosion had a great advantage, which was that it could be condensed very quickly. This was a little similar to the water ripple slash that the Fu Shui woman had displayed. The water ripple slash could transform into the 1000 water ripple slash in an instant. The main reason was that this curse technique was too fast. Therefore, the 9th stage Extreme Dao Dragon Explosion was the same. Kang Xinmu could use it several times at the same time. Although the power of each dragon explosion was separated, if they all hit the same point, the power would be extremely strong. If he could cultivate this dragon martial technique to the 9th stage, it would be truly heaven-defying. Kang Xinmu could even instantly kill that Fu Shui woman. Chapter 46:12. Kang Xinmu chose the 9-stage Extreme Dao Hui Dragon Explosion. As for Ran Ran, she chose a special high-level Holy Spirit Dragon Martial Technique, the Chaotic 10,000 Dragons Heavenly Lock. This special Dragon Martial Technique was usually used to trap enemies. It could trap the opponent and seal the power in their body. However, it could also be used as a defensive type of dragon martial technique. Moreover, its defensive ability was very strong. It was suitable for Ran Ran. As for what the situation was, Kong Shinmu and Ran Ran did not know. Ling Hu Dai did not tell them either. In any case, even Ling Hu Dai yearned for the high-ranked divine spirit dragon martial skills that were brought out for them to choose from. She herself had trained in dragon martial skills of this level. Thus, in this aspect, Jiang Shenwu and the others had already reached the level of the Dragon Emperor's instructors. It was just that Kong Shinmu and the others' cultivation level and the grade of the divine dragon blood essence were relatively low. In any case, after choosing 2 high-level Holy Spirit dragon martial techniques, they had to start cultivating them first. Kong Shinmu and Ran Ran went back and cultivated in seclusion for 7 days. In the end, they realized that they had no clue at all. Although they had obtained the cultivation secret manuals, these 2 dragon martial techniques were too high-end and profound. At first, they estimated that they would need a few months to successfully cultivate them. But now, it seemed that it would be quite good if they could successfully cultivate them in a few months. Therefore, they could only give up for now. After all, they were pressed for time. They had to take advantage of this opportunity to go out and kill more opponents. Next, it was time to accumulate experience. Kong Shinmu brought Xiao Yuhua and the other 3 to wander around the battlefield of the 9 major tribes. Relying on the black concealing dragon stone, they wandered around the battlefield of the Talisman tribe, the Void Human tribe, and the Demon God tribe. Occasionally, they would encounter some powerful opponents. But most of the time, they were just hunting slaves and some members of the 9 major tribes. These members of the 9 major tribes were not weak. Moreover, each of them had experienced the baptism of war. Their battle instincts were extremely strong. However, they were all at the level of ordinary soldiers. They were at the bottom of the race legions of the 9 races. Otherwise, they would not have been sent to this battlefield to die. Ever since 2 geniuses of the Void Human tribe and 1 genius of the Talisman Water tribe had died, the true geniuses of the 9 great tribes rarely came to this battlefield. The 9 races had realized that the martial dragon continent wasn't a place to be trifled with. It also had the ability to resist. Geniuses might be killed if they came out, so they wouldn't come out. Or, like the evil prince, they would send people to guard them. Although the bodyguards couldn't do anything, they could protect the young master when he was about to die and take him away. This way, when Kong Shinmu saw these relatively strong geniuses from the various races, he had no intention of making a move. Since he couldn't kill them anyway, there was no need to expose himself. The existence of hidden black dragon stone was still a secret. At the very least, out of the 9 great races, besides the ancient Phoenix clan, the other 8 races didn't know that Kong Shinmu's team was tyrannical on the battlefield. Once they attacked, it was as swift as a clap of thunder. They killed their target and then used the black concealing dragon stone to hide all traces and auras. On the battlefield of the Void Human tribe, the Talisman Water tribe, and the Demon God tribe, Kong Shinmu's team was very active. This made the 3 races a little angry, but they really couldn't find anyone who attacked them on the battlefield. Sometimes they even set up traps and used bait to lure out the ambushers, but they didn't succeed at all. This was because when Kong Shinmu's team was hidden by the hidden black dragon stone, they could see and feel the surrounding environment. Therefore, ordinary traps couldn't do anything to them at all. 5 months later, Jiang Shenwu's group of 5 had gone back and forth on the battlefield of the 3 major races dozens of times. Every time, they would return with a bountiful harvest. They would choose opponents that were extremely reliable, and after killing them, they would hide and disappear. During this period of time, many things happened in the martial dragon fortress. For example, the students recruited by Donghuang Yangu College all withdrew, the genius team of the hidden dragon martial artist family was completely annihilated, the evil prince of the demon god tribe openly appeared in the martial dragon fortress, and so on. This series of events made the relationship between the 9 major races and the martial dragon continent even more tense. Moreover, according to statistics, the number of dragon martial artists who died in the martial dragon continent was definitely more than the number of people from the 9 major races. The 9 major races only lost more slaves. Even the soldiers at the bottom of the army didn't die that much. In any case, the overall loss was much less than the martial dragon continent. This was very normal. If they lost more, why would they use this method to compete? Wouldn't it be like letting the martial dragon continent reap the benefits? Now that the battle between the 9 major races had reached a climax, many dragon martial artist geniuses were also fighting with no regard for their own safety. Not only did they want to protect their homeland, but they also wanted to improve themselves and strive to reach the level of the Dragon Emperor Mentor. Unfortunately, the possibility of reaching the level of the Dragon Emperor Mentor in the 4 Dragon Martial Academies was at most the 9 top students in the Divine Center District. It was basically impossible for the others to reach the level of the Dragon Emperor Mentor in a short period of time. In these 5 months, Kang Xinmu and the others did not encounter any danger. The power of the hidden black dragon stone was evident. However, their gains were getting less and less. In total, they only managed to let Xiao by exchange for an advanced divine spirit dragon martial technique. She was also unable to cultivate it. On the other hand, Kang Xinmu and Ran Ran had finally succeeded in cultivating their respective advanced divine spirit dragon martial techniques. Kang Xinmu could finally use the first stage of the 9 extreme Dao Hui Dragon Burst. Its power was already 3 times stronger than the Void Dragon Sky-raising break he had previously cultivated. This was a huge breakthrough for him. And Ran Ran's chaotic 10,000 Dragon Sky Lock had also made a breakthrough. She had cultivated it to the dragon level. Even when facing Kang Xinmu, she could instantly seal his movements. This advanced divine spirit dragon martial technique was truly powerful. If it was used intentionally, the chaotic 10,000 Dragon Sky Lock could condense countless chains and entangle Ran Ran's entire divine dragon body. The chains of this primal chaos 10,000 Dragon Sky Lock complemented the body of the divine dragon. Ran Ran had cultivated the body refining dragon martial technique, so the strength of this primal chaos 10,000 Dragon Sky Lock was even stronger. Once trapped, the speed of gathering energy in one's body would be reduced by half. The effect was obvious in battle. Chapter 46:13. If the flow of Kang Xinmu's devouring power was reduced by half, his devouring speed would also be reduced by half. This was a huge weakening for Kang Xinmu. This was also a reminder to Kang Xinmu. In a battle, he had to be wary of his opponent using such means. However, he had not met any decent opponents in the past few months. With his strength, he was almost the strongest after Mentor Dragon Emperor. Not to mention that in the past 5 months, he, Xiao Yuhua, and the others had all consolidated their cultivation and broken through to the next level of the Divine Dragon's Inheritance Blood Essence. Now, Kang Xinmu's Divine Dragon's Inheritance Blood Essence had reached the 3rd level of the Dragon Emperor's inheritance. At this point, Kang Xinmu finally felt that his direct combat strength had reached the level of Yu Tianchang when he first met her. At this level, he could definitely be the first in the Dubhe district. Of course, it was only the former first in the Dubhe district. The current first in the Dubhe district was also in the process of rapid improvement. No one knew what kind of combat strength the students in the Dubhe district had now. Although Kang Xinmu was sure that the students' improvement was not as fast as his, their foundations were much better than his. Therefore, he was not sure if he had caught up to them. Moreover, Kang Xinmu's cultivation realm had also broken through to the 3rd level of the Samsara realm in the past 5 months. This improvement was not too strong, but it had at least improved Kang Shinmu's basic strength. When he used many of his dragon techniques and dragon weapons, they were more powerful than before. Moreover, this cultivation realm was equivalent to the cultivation realm of the demonic god's inheritance and the power of void inheritance. It could increase the strength of both. Recently, Kang Shinmu did not cultivate these two inheritances. However, he still found time to go to the demonic god's battlefield to meet up with the emissary sent by Sui. Then, the emissary provided him with a lot of cultivation resources to cultivate the demonic god's inheritance, as well as many top-notch desolate god demonic skills. Unfortunately, just like the top-notch Holy Spirit Dragon's martial skills, the current Kang Shinmu's comprehension of the Rage God's devil skills was too low. It was impossible for him to cultivate those top-notch Rage God's devil skills. In these 5 months, Kang Shinmu had only absorbed some cultivation resources from the demon god race's legacy, allowing his demon god's legacy to reach the 4th level of the Demon King realm. This was already quite amazing. The 16-winged heavenly demon god's inheritance blood essence that he had obtained was equivalent to the holy demon level inheritance of the holy dragon. But now, in just 5 short months, he had already reached the 4th level of the Demon King level. This was rather fast. Most importantly, Kang Shinmu only cultivated in his spare time, devouring the demon god race's cultivation resources that Sui had given him. Otherwise, he would have improved even faster. After reaching this level of demon god's inheritance blood essence, under the guidance of the demon god ancestor, Kang Shinmu could finally cultivate some ordinary devil martial skills. Of course, these devil martial skills did not have any substantial effect on Kang Shinmu. They were only used to train and enhance his understanding of devil martial skills. When Kang Shinmu's understanding of the demon god race's legacy was more or less complete, and when he raised the demon god's bloodline to the demon emperor level, he could almost start cultivating the top-notch Rage God's devil skills. It was not only the Rage God's devil skill secret manuals that Sui had given him. Most importantly, it was the demon god ancestor's consciousness in Kang Shinmu's mind. This 16-winged heavenly demon god's consciousness knew too many devil skills. Not to mention the Rage God's devil skills, the demon god ancestor's consciousness could even take out a lot of supreme devil skills. Therefore, when Kang Shinmu cultivated the demon god race's inheritance in the future, it could be said that he had a unique advantage. There was no one more suitable than him. If the Black Dragon's consciousness was willing to teach Kang Shinmu some dragon martial skills, Kang Shinmu's strength in the Divine Dragon's inheritance would be extremely terrifying. Unfortunately, the Black Dragon's consciousness could not be bothered with him and had not appeared much. The demon god ancestor sighed with emotion more than once. How good would it be if he was also proficient in the dragon martial skills? He also persuaded Kang Shinmu more than once to let Kang Shinmu directly cultivate the demon god race's inheritance. When he cultivated to the supreme demon god level, he would be able to go anywhere in the world. In the demon god ancestor's opinion, the supreme demon god level was not too high, and it was relatively easy to reach. In this regard, Kang Shinmu could only blush with shame. The demon god ancestor said that it was relatively easy to reach, but it would still take at least 100 years of effort to have a glimmer of hope. As for less than 100 years, it was absolutely impossible. Of course, with the help of the devouring power, Kang Shinmu also did not know if he could break the rules at a higher level. Anyway, until now, whether it was the demon god race or the dragon god race, there had never been a supreme existence who succeeded in cultivating within 100 years. The most talented demon god race's supreme demon god had cultivated for more than 270 years, which was almost the lifespan of an ordinary dragon martial artist. Only when they reached the level of the Dragon King or even the Dragon Emperor would the dragon martial artist's lifespan be increased. This was because when the divine dragon blood's inheritance grade increased, the dragon martial artist's life essence was also sublimated, transforming into a divine dragon. The increase in the lifespan of a dragon martial artist at the level of the Dragon King was not obvious. Basically, they could live for about 150 years. But after reaching the level of the Dragon Emperor, it was relatively easy to live for 300 to 500 years. When reaching the level of the Dragon Emperor, the dragon martial artist's life form was changing. Naturally, their lifespan would also increase due to the increase in the grade of the divine dragon blood. One had to know that the ancient divine dragon's lifespan was almost unlimited. Now that the dragon martial artist had integrated the divine dragon blood's inheritance, living for a few hundred years was nothing at all. The supreme level was almost the pinnacle of this world, the ruling class. For example, the Emperor Shi Divine Dragon and the Blue Sky Calamity Dragon were all existences of this level. Kang Xinmu was still very far from this level. At the very least, even reaching the level of the Dragon Emperor was just the beginning for Kang Xinmu. If he wanted to break through the level of the Dragon Emperor and become a super divine dragon, he did not know how long it would take. In these 5 months, Kang Xinmu went to the battlefield of the Void Human tribe more often. He chose some Void Human tribe members who did not look too weak to attack and kill. During this process, Jiang Shenwu continuously devoured the power of the Void Human tribe's inheritance of the Void power. This deepened his understanding of the inheritance of the Void power. He also collected many cultivation resources from the Void Human tribe, all of which were devoured by him. This allowed his Void power inheritance to be elevated to a level comparable to the demon god's inheritance. This deepened his understanding of the Void power inheritance. Moreover, as he continuously devoured the Void Human tribe powerhouse's Void martial skills, he began to understand the principles of many Void martial skills thoroughly. Therefore, he began to study his top-notch Holy Void martial skills and heaven-grade Void weapon in depth. Chapter 46:14. Of course, at this stage, Kang Xinmu couldn't use the Void power inheritance or the demon god inheritance. Even Xiao Yuhua and the other 3 didn't know about these 2 inheritances. Kang Xinmu didn't tell anyone about them. After Kang Xinmu successfully cultivated the 9th stage Extreme Dao Hui Dragon Burst, Kang Xinmu's battle prowess had skyrocketed. If he encountered another opponent like the woman from the Fu Shui tribe, he would be able to kill them easily. Of course, if he wanted to kill his opponent, he could only pretend to be injured and devour enough energy to kill his opponent in one fell swoop. If he were to rely solely on the 9-stage Extreme Dragon Explosion, the other party might not be a match for him. However, when he saw that he was no match for him, he would definitely flee immediately. Why would he stay and wait for death? Unless Jiang Shenwu was able to cultivate the high-grade Divine Spirit Dragon Martial Technique to the 6th layer. If that was the case, he would be able to unleash the 6th layer of the Black Dragon Explosion. With the 6th layer, he would be able to destroy the Water God image of the Water Tribe's woman in one fell swoop. Of course, Xiao Yuhua and the other 3's dragon bloodline essence blood had also increased by 1 stage. Xiao Yuhua and Xiao Bai had reached the 4th stage of the Dragon Emperor Hui Dragon bloodline, while Liang Xiao and Ran Ran had reached the 3rd stage of the Dragon Emperor Hui Dragon bloodline. This had greatly improved their strength. However, their cultivation was still stuck at the 4th stage of the Samsara realm. They felt that if they broke through now, they still wouldn't be able to defeat the 2nd Samsara beast and condense the Samsara power. Half a year had passed since the 9 major races had come to the void above the martial dragon continent and made the bet. During this half a year, only dragon martialists below the 5th stage of the Dragon Emperor Hui Dragon bloodline could participate in the battle. The 9 major races were the same. Neither side had violated the agreement. However, there were times when experts at the level of the Dragon Emperor's mentors or experts from the opposing races would appear to save their race's important geniuses. This wasn't considered a violation of the agreement. Some losses couldn't be borne by either side, so both sides had tacitly agreed to this rule. Over the past half a year, Kong Xinmu, and the other four's battle achievements could be said to be extremely illustrious among the Martial Dragon Fortress Dragon Martialist team. Because they had killed so many people, Kong Xinmu's name had even reached the ears of the higher-ups of the ancient Phoenix clan. How could the ancient Phoenix clan possibly care about the dragon martial artists of the Martial Dragon continent? They were only cooperating with the Emperor Shi Dragon Martial Arts Academy for the sake of the Emperor Shi Divine Dragon. After all, this matter did not bring any harm to them. However, they did not expect that Kong Xinmu, a student of Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Academy, would be able to repeatedly kill the experts of the Talisman Water Tribe, the Virtual Human Tribe, and the Demon God Tribe. To the ancient Phoenix clan, the setbacks of these three races were quite pleasing. Therefore, when rewarding Kong Xinmu, they were not stingy. Many good things were given to Kong Xinmu. Unfortunately, Kong Xinmu did not accept any of them. He only exchanged them for Guardian Points and then exchanged them for high-grade Holy Spirit Dragon Martial Techniques. In half a year, Kong Xinmu and the others had obtained 3 high-grade Holy Spirit Dragon Martial Techniques. They were still 2 away from their goal. Moreover, Kong Xinmu and the others still had 5 Phoenix Spirit Fire Gems. Phoenix Spirit Fire Gems were of great help in raising one's cultivation level. To the ancient Phoenix clan, it was a very precious item. Kong Xinmu and the others each had 1 Phoenix Spirit Fire Gems. They temporarily stored them and did not use them. The Phoenix Spirit Fire Gems could be used once a month, but Kong Xinmu and the others were not in a hurry. Xiao Yuhua and the others were stuck at the 4th tier of the Samsara realm. When their strength reached a certain level, they would try to break through to the 5th tier. As for Kong Xinmu, he felt that he had broken through too quickly and it was difficult for him to consolidate the strength within his body. Thus, he temporarily gave up on such a rapid increase. In Jiang Xinwu's opinion, he had raised his cultivation realm by 1 level and the grade of the Divine Dragon's Inheritance Blood Essence by 1 level in the past half a year. This rate of improvement was relatively fast. In addition, he had yet to consolidate a lot of his strength when he broke through previously. As a result, the power he could unleash now was probably only 60% of his full strength. If he could consolidate the strength within his body, his strength might nearly double. And to consolidate the strength within his body, the best way was to fight. Fight without end. Before, the Dragon's Car Blood Pendant could help him consolidate his strength. But, Kong Xinmu was too lazy to prepare a new dragon weapon for the sake of consolidating his strength. This sort of dragon weapon wasn't rare, but it was quite expensive. Kong Xinmu didn't want to waste Guardian Points. He chose to fight without end. This way, he could consolidate his strength. On this day, Kong Xinmu set off again with Xiao Yuhua and the others. Recently, the situation in the Dragon Martial Fortress had been a little tense. There were rumors that there were already dragon warriors attacking their own people on the battlefield of the 9 major races. That was probably like the evil prince, who had reached some kind of agreement with the dragon warriors. In this case, the dragon warriors would help the other party kill the dragon warriors in exchange for cultivation resources in the other party's race. It was much easier for the dragon warriors to kill dragon warriors than to kill the people of the 9 major races. Therefore, it was normal for someone to be tempted. Unfortunately, no one knew who it was. There's still half a year left. I have to consolidate my strength and reach the 4th level of the Dragon Emperor. I have to become the first in the Dubhe district in the Academy tournament. Kong Xinmu set a goal for himself. The students in the Dubhe district of the 4 Dragon Martial Academies were basically the students in the Dubhe district or even the Dubhe district before the Void Chasm appeared. The original students in the Dubhe district and some in the Dubhe district had already reached the level of the Dragon Emperor mentors. This included Feng Ligay, Gu Yusheng, Yu Tianchang, and the others. They couldn't step onto the battlefield this year, but 1 year was enough for them to cultivate their dragon martial skills to a whole new level, which was enough for their combat strength to skyrocket. On the battlefield of the virtual human tribe, Kang Shinmu led the 4 of them and hid within the concealment range of the black hidden dragon stone. They wandered in the void leisurely. Now the surroundings were filled with the aura of the virtual human tribe and the aura of many dragon warriors. They were all mixed together, and a lot of the smell of blood spread in the void. There had been too many killings in the past half a year. Many dragon warriors had died, and even more of the void spirit beast slaves of the virtual human tribe had died. However, after the 2 geniuses were killed, the members of the virtual human tribe had not appeared much. It was basically the void spirit beasts who gathered information on the battlefield. Unless there was a specific target, the extremely strong members of the virtual human tribe would appear and kill all the dragon warriors in one fell swoop. This kind of situation was very rare. Therefore, because Kang Shinmu had killed 2 geniuses, the virtual human tribe had been shrinking back. Now, among the 9 major races, they could be said to be the race with the lowest score. They were undoubtedly at the bottom. Kang Shinmu didn't want the members of the virtual human tribe to leave the battlefield early. If he wanted to cultivate the power of the void, he had to start from the battlefield of the virtual human tribe. Chapter 46:15. The hidden Kang Shinmu's group of 5 were like 5 ferocious tigers, ready to pounce at any moment. The virtual human tribe, demon god tribe, and talisman water tribe had been at a disadvantage for half a year. The concealed black dragon stone was an earth-grade divine spiritual dragon weapon. It was a must-have item on the battlefield of the 9 great tribes. In the past half a year, they had not met anyone who could see through the concealed black dragon stone's concealment. However, Kang Shinmu felt a little uneasy today. Ever since he entered the virtual human tribe's battlefield, he kept feeling that someone was watching him. The fusion of the Nightmare Ink Beast's abilities was getting deeper and deeper. Kang Shinmu's concealment ability had increased, and so had his senses. However, he could not detect any signs of anyone around him. Under the concealment of the concealed black dragon stone, Liang Xiao and the others did not speak and focused on their surroundings. Although this had been going on for half a year, the 4 of them were still as cautious as Kang Shinmu every time they went out to battle. After all, they were treading on thin ice here. One careless mistake and they could die here. They did not want to lose their lives because of a moment of carelessness. If there was anything to say it in the martial dragon fortress. After coming to the battlefield, fighting was the only thing they had to do. The 5 of them continued forward. Although they were flying in the air, it was still relatively slow. Just as the 5 of them were concentrating, 5 dragon martialists suddenly appeared in front of them. To be more precise, it was the bodies of 5 dragon martialists. They were corpses that had lost their lives and seemed to have been cut into several pieces by the void power. The corpses of the 5 dragon martialists had been cut into several pieces and thrown into the air. If not for the fact that they were all of different attributes, it would be difficult to tell which parts belonged to which martialist. It was because of the different colors of the corpses that Kang Shinmu could tell at a glance that 5 martialists had died there. It looks like they've been dead for a long time. Kang Shinmu sighed and thought to himself. In the past, when they saw a martialist dragon's corpse, they would definitely help collect it and bring it back to the martial dragon fortress. Martialists who died on the battlefield of the 9 races generally wouldn't leave behind a dragon heart bone. Kang Shinmu and the others flew to the front. They were still wrapped in the black concealing dragon stone, and they observed the corpses of the 5 dragon martial artists. Indeed, they had lost their dragon heart bones. They must have been taken away by the illusory human race as battle achievements. Kang Shinmu's eyes were filled with anger. Just as he was about to collect the corpses of the 5 dragon warriors, something strange happened. The void around their concealing black dragon stone suddenly twisted. In the distorted void, countless void blades appeared, directly sweeping towards Kang Shinmu and the others, slashing down violently at lightning speed. The lethality of each of these void blades was not any weaker than the water ripple slash from before. They could even slice the current Jiang Shunwu into pieces. Dragon Transformation. Sunset Shadow Flowing Flash. Kang Shinmu decisively gave up on the corpses of the 5 dragon martial artists in front of him. He hadn't let his guard down, and now he reacted immediately. The power of the Sunset Shadow Flowing Flash brought everyone through the void instantly. Together with the concealing range of the black concealing dragon stone, they traveled tens of thousands of feet away. Immediately after, they saw the corpses of the 5 dragon martial artists in the void where they were just now being cut into pieces by the void blades. Not even their bones were left. Someone was ambushing Kang Shinmu. Kang Shinmu's expression changed, but he was extremely calm on the inside. Impressive, impressive. You actually dodged it. What a pity, you will all die today. A strange voice came from the void in front of them. Immediately after, a young illusory human race wearing a blue robe walked out of the void. This young illusory human wore a blue robe that was embroidered with many void totems. The patterns were clear and mysterious, and contained a mysterious aura and power. There was no white in his eyes. His entire eyeball was pitch black, and he looked shocking. He was like a messenger who had walked out of hell. A genius expert of the illusory human race. As for who he was, Kang Shinmu didn't know. In any case, the other party's pitch-black eyes stared at where Kang Shinmu and the others were hiding with the black concealing dragon stone. Obviously, the other party could clearly see where Kang Shinmu and the others were hiding. Moreover, the other party was very strong. His first move was comparable to the water ripple slash of the Talisman Water Tribe woman. It was similar to the 1000 water ripple slash, but its power was comparable to the water ripple slash. It was clear that this person was extremely powerful. Illusory Power Inheritance, Emperor Level 4, Reincarnation Tribulation Realm Peak. This was the strongest person who could enter the battlefield of the 9 tribes. There are a few ruling families in the illusory human race. Our dragon martial continent is just a small place. It's impossible for the ruling family's geniuses to come here. However, this guy in front of us is probably a second-class family genius of the illusory human race. He's much stronger than those hidden dragon martial artist families. Kang Shinmu's expression darkened. Since the black concealing dragon stone was useless against the other party, he simply cancelled the black concealing dragon stone's concealment effect. Then, he, Xiao Yuhua, and the others all transformed into dragons and prepared for battle. You're the ones who killed my younger brothers, right? I didn't think that the small dragon martial continent would have such troublesome existences like you. The pitch-black young illusory human race man's eyes were filled with mockery. It was as if he wasn't facing dragon martial artist geniuses, but 5 little chicks. In his opinion, Kang Shinmu and the others could not withstand a single blow. Of course, before I kill you, you must know who killed you. My name is Su Sunluo. The young illusory human race man said calmly. Su Sunluo was his name. The first 2 illusory human race geniuses that Kang Shinmu and the others had killed were Su Senluo's younger brothers. Both of them had died in a small place like the dragon martial continent. This had enraged Su Senluo greatly. However, he had been training outside at that time and had not heard of this matter. Just half a month ago, Su Senluo had returned from training and heard about this matter. He had also learned that the murderer who had killed his younger brothers had not been caught. This had enraged him greatly, so he had personally come to this battlefield to wait and search. There was no need to doubt Su Senluo's strength. Among the entire younger generation of the illusory human race, he could be considered an extremely tyrannical existence. In the chaotic battlefield, he had even killed a dragon martial artist who was on the same level as the Dragon Emperor's mentor. At most, he would be on par with a powerful existence at the 7th level of the Dragon Emperor realm. Moreover, his eyes could see through all illusions in the world. The concealment effect of the black concealing dragon stone was practically non-existent in his eyes. It was completely useless. Su Sunluo introduced himself as he approached Kang Xinmu and the others. Chapter 46:16. Su Sunluo was extremely powerful. This could be seen from this person's aura. I'm afraid this person is a top-notch powerhouse among the younger generation of the Void Human tribe. If I'm alone, I'm definitely no match for him. Kang Xinmu was almost certain of this, because he felt that his opponent's attack was indestructible. If it landed on him, he would definitely die. This time, Kang Xinmu was definitely in danger. However, because Su Sunluo was extremely powerful, Kang Xinmu guessed that there should be no other Void Human tribe members around. Just from his expression, Su Sunluo was extremely arrogant. Why would he let anyone secretly protect him? However, Kang Xinmu did not dare to take the risk. If he used all his trump cards, he could, of course, resist Su Sunluo. However, if he did not use some of his trump cards, he was definitely no match for Su Sunluo. Of course, Kang Xinmu was not alone now, so he could still try to resist Su Sunluo head-on. There was no doubt that Kang Xinmu's defense was extremely strong, but his opponent's attack was even stronger. If they wanted to resist Su Sunluo's attack, the 5 of them had to work together. However, during this process, they had to be careful not to be sneak attacked. After all, the Void Human tribe was good at concealment and sneak attacks. If Su Sunluo went around Kang Xinmu to attack the others, they might not be able to resist. Fortunately, Kang Xinmu's wind shadow flowing cloud flash had already been cultivated to the dragon level. The wind shadow flowing cloud flash that had reached the dragon level allowed him to use this move as if it was his own arm. He would not feel the slightest sluggishness. Furthermore, after using it once, he could almost immediately use it again. It would not be a problem for him to help block some attacks. Su Sunluo approached step by step. He looked rather small. After all, he was just a human. However, as he approached, a huge black shadow appeared behind him. It was the Void God Totem. The inheritance of Void power was to summon the Void God Totem. If one wanted to use the power of Void power, they had to use the Void God Totem. The Empty God Totem was similar to the Water God Shadow. It was a powerful force that covered their bodies. As long as the Empty God Totem existed, external forces would not be able to harm them. The effect of this faux God Totem was no less than that of the Water God Shadow. It was similar to how Kang Xinmu and the others transformed into divine dragon bodies. Without the Void God Totem, the Void Human tribe could only unleash less than 30% of its inherited power. This was why Kang Xinmu had been able to kill 2 Void Human tribe geniuses. Those 2 geniuses of the virtual human tribe were indeed killed by me. I didn't expect them to be your younger brothers. I'm sorry. When Kang Xinmu saw the other party approaching, he became vigilant and said calmly. That was what he said, but how was there any hint of apology in his tone? This caused Su Sunluo's expression to become somewhat unsightly. You're courting death. As soon as he finished speaking, the Void God Totem behind him suddenly erupted. A wave of void power swept toward Kang Xinmu and the others like a tsunami. It was like a dark storm that covered the sky. The void power formed a tsunami that surged from the void. It contained an endless destructive power of the void. Defend. When Kang Xinmu saw this, he immediately shouted. Then, he activated all the offensive battle patterns on the Blizzard Dragon Stone and unleashed a Blizzard Rampage. Although this Blizzard Rampage Tyrannosaurus Dragon technique was not very strong, it covered a large area. Moreover, it could freeze the void. Even if it could not completely block the other party's attack, it could still slow down the other party's attack. Then, Kang Shinmu unleashed a 9-stage ultimate roaring dragon explosion. This advanced divine spirit dragon technique was the strongest dragon technique that a dragon martial artist could cultivate before becoming a super divine dragon. At this moment, although Kang Shinmu had just successfully cultivated it, it already had some initial power. With just one move, a terrifying dark devouring power gathered and formed a dragon's breath light wave. In an instant, it shot toward the void in front of him and then exploded. Kang Shinmu's instantaneous reaction allowed him to explode with 2 moves. He quickly integrated them into the other party's attack, causing the other party's attack to be forcefully blocked. Then, Xiao Yuhua and the other 3 also used their own techniques. Phoenix Dance Incineration of the 9 Heavens, Sky-Splitting Ice Slash, Dragon Blood Meteor Explosion, Rance Human-Level Divine Spirit Dragon Weapon, Darkness Screen, and Xiao Yuhua's Defensive Divine Spirit Dragon Weapon, Flaming Feather Stormball. The combined strength of the 4 was even stronger than Kang Shinmu's explosion. At this moment, they directly exploded in the other party's void power tsunami. Their combined attack directly blasted a huge hole in the other party's void power tsunami. When the void power tsunami swept over, it just so happened that Kang Shinmu and the others dodged the attack through the hole. The entire void power tsunami rolled over and actually did not harm Kang Shinmu and the others at all. Continue. Kang Shinmu did not hesitate at all. He immediately exploded with all his strength. The 9th stage Extreme Roaring Dragon Explosion exploded once again. This time, it directly blasted toward Su Sun Luo. However, unexpectedly, Su Sun Luo, who saw that his attack did not have any effect, did not look disappointed at all. Instead, the corners of his mouth curled up slightly. Facing Kang Shinmu's attack this time, his entire person dissipated from the battlefield. He disappeared. It's a type of divine void technique. Kang Shinmu's devouring power exploded in all directions. He had already taken the opportunity to devour a lot of void power, which came from the void power tsunami condensed by the other party. This time, when the other party disappeared from the battlefield, Kang Shinmu immediately reacted. His eyes focused to the limit and probed the surroundings. Only then did he finally discover a hidden figure rapidly traversing through the void and approaching Liang Xiao. Su Sun Luo was going to sneak attack Liang Xiao. Liang Xiao did not notice at all. He was still looking left and right to prevent others from sneaking up on him. However, he did not know that he had already become a target. Liang Xiao, right side, defend. Kang Shinmu shouted, and his entire body, which was thousands of feet long, swept out. After the wind shadow flowing cloud flash erupted, he instantly traversed to Liang Xiao's right side. Immediately after, an extremely hidden void blade landed on Kang Shinmu's body. This void blade contained an incomparably terrifying destructive power. It was originally intended to kill Liang Xiao in a single blow. However, Kang Shinmu flashed over and blocked it. Kang Shinmu's perception was extremely strong. Coupled with the fact that he had cultivated the wind shadow flowing cloud flash to the dragon level and his comprehension of the wind shadow flowing cloud flash from the extreme sage realm, he was able to quickly provide support. At this moment, Kang Shinmu felt as though his soul was being sliced apart. The power of the void god totem exploded within his divine dragon body. Kang Shinmu's defense was already very strong. At this moment, he even displayed a defensive stance. The power of the divine dragon tyrant body technique covered his entire body, blocking the attack. However, this void blade's destructive power was too strong. Chapter 46:17. Kang Shinmu's defensive abilities were considered heaven-defying among dragon warriors of the same cultivation level. However, at this moment, he was actually unable to resist Su Senluo's attack at all. If he hadn't devoured the void energy just now, then he would have probably been sliced into two by that void blade. Kang Shinmu had devoured a portion of the other party's void tsunami and used it to strengthen his own resistance against the power of the void. This had always been the function of the devouring power. Even now, to Kang Shinmu, it was still one of the strongest characteristics of the devouring power. Why was his defense so strong? Most importantly, it wasn't because he had cultivated many body-tempering dragon martial arts techniques. Instead, it was because the devouring power could devour all kinds of power and strengthen one's resistance against that power. This was the case for Kang Shinmu now. After strengthening his resistance against the power of the void, his black dragon body was almost cut in two by the void blade. However, it was still a little short. The void blade's power was completely devoured by Kang Shinmu's divine dragon body. Kang Shinmu's devouring power was already the power of samsara. No matter what item or power it devoured, it was extremely fast. Before the void blade could cut Kang Shinmu in two, Kang Shinmu completely devoured it and turned it into his own power. Liang Xiao's cultivation level and inherited essence blood weren't too high. At least, they weren't considered much to Su Sanluo. Therefore, the void blade that he had condensed to kill Liang Xiao wasn't his strongest power. In fact, it only contained half of his power. However, this half of his power had almost cut Kang Shinmu in two. Kang Shinmu was fine, but if it had been Liang Xiao, he would have been killed by this sneak attack. However, when Kang Shinmu flashed over to block the void blade for him, Liang Xiao and the others immediately reacted. Die! The dragon blood meteor explosion was unleashed, and a terrifying force exploded in the void. Liang Xiao only saw a blurry silhouette of Su Sanluo, but he believed that that was where Su Sanluo was. Thus, the dragon blood meteor blasted in that direction. Blood splattered across the entire void. The phoenix dance of the burning nine heavens and the heaven-splitting ice slash arrived almost at the same time. The high-grade origin dragon martial skills that they cultivated had all been cultivated to the sacred level. Therefore, they were much stronger than the high-grade divine spirit dragon martial skills that they had just cultivated. Furthermore, Xiao Yuhua and Liang Xiao had yet to cultivate the high-grade divine spirit dragon martial technique. At this moment, the attacks that they had unleashed were not too strong. However, when added together, they possessed half of Su Sanluo's strength. Void Black Hole. When Su Sanluo saw their power condense, he snorted coldly. His figure became faintly discernible, and the void god totem behind him suddenly released a dark blue light. A dark blue power black hole condensed in front of him. The edges of the black hole were dark blue. This was an extremely powerful high-grade divine void martial skill. It was said that it could devour any power or item, causing them to dissipate in an alternate dimension. When Kang Shinmu saw the void black hole that his opponent had unleashed, his expression changed slightly. This void black hole was equivalent to the high-grade divine spirit dragon martial skill. It was the strongest divine void martial skill below the transcendent grade. Kang Shinmu had seen the cultivation manual for the void black hole among the spoils of war from the two void human tribe clansmen. The two geniuses that Kang Shinmu had killed were Su Sanluo's younger brothers. Therefore, it was normal for them to cultivate the same divine void martial skill. This made Kang Shinmu's heart tremble. He suddenly unleashed an extremely violent devouring power. A pitch-black waterfall-like power swept out and enveloped the entire void black hole. The moment the void black hole condensed, it devoured the attacks of Xiao Yuhua and the other three. Like a stone sinking into the sea, it disappeared without a trace. The four of them were shocked and they saw the void black hole. However, Kang Shinmu immediately attacked. An endless devouring power enveloped the area and started to devour the power of the void black hole. Logically speaking, the void black hole had the power to devour all things. Any power that came close to it would be devoured. However, now that Kang Shinmu's devouring power had descended, the void black hole was devoured by the devouring power. What? Su Sunluo did not expect such a situation at all. His originally confident face immediately revealed a shocked expression. It was too shocking. The void black hole was the strongest devouring power in the world, right? Forget about cultivators of the same level, even cultivators who were several levels stronger than Su Sunluo would be swallowed up by the black hole of nothingness. Right now, Jiang Shenwu's divine dragon blood essence was only at the third level of the Dragon Emperor realm, one level lower than Su Sunluo. As for his cultivation base, it was only at the third level of the rebirth tribulation state. There was a difference of 6 levels between him and Su Sunluo, who was at the peak of the 9th level. What kind of difference was this? However, the void black hole condensed by Su Sunluo was actually devoured by Kang Shinmu's power. What was going on? The void black hole. This guy has already cultivated the void black hole to the peak of heaven tier. It's a pity it hasn't reached the saint tier. I'm not greedy. It's good enough that I was able to devour this power. Kang Shinmu planned to use up all this power. This way, his understanding of the void black hole would increase like the sun in the sky. After mastering the void black hole, he would also have some understanding of other holy void techniques. In the end, he would be able to use the 2 heaven-tier void weapons and cultivate those high-level holy void techniques. This was considered his auxiliary inheritance. The difficulty of cultivating it was double that of ordinary void human tribe members. However, to Kang Shinmu, he had the devouring power, so he was not worried about the difficulty of cultivating it. It would be fine if it was twice as difficult. Of course, if it was 10 times as difficult, the impact would be huge. However, if it was twice as difficult, Kang Shinmu did not think it would be too much of a problem. The void black hole and the dark blue power that was enveloped by the void black hole were quickly devoured by Kang Shinmu's devouring power. However, when the black hole of nothingness had about 30% of its power left, Su Sunluo immediately reacted. He did not hesitate at all, and the void god totem around him erupted with the strongest light of void power at that moment. At the same time, a void weapon appeared in Su Sunluo's hand. He had come here to avenge his brother. Now that an opponent that could devour the void black hole had appeared, he naturally could not treat Kang Shinmu as an ordinary opponent. He planned to kill Kang Shinmu once and for all. Void weapon, void heavenly plate. A stone plate that looked like a clock appeared in his hand. It contained an unparalleled power of specter, causing the surrounding void to show signs of distortion the moment it appeared. Clearly, this was a top-grade specter weapon. Chapter 46:19. The power of Ling Yun's protective ring converged into a layer of barrier, completely protecting Jiang Shenwu and the other 4. Before this, Kang Shinmu released all of his devouring power and engulfed the incoming attack of the virtual endless world. Then, he continuously devoured it and turned it into Kang Shinmu's own strength. The virtual god's judgment was a top-notch holy void technique that could even distort space and kill its enemies. This technique even caused the barrier of the ring to distort a little. However, in the end, the power of the ring was still able to block all of the attacks. It wasn't able to harm Kang Shinmu and the other 4. In just a short while, Kang Shinmu's devouring power had already devoured half of the virtual god's judgment's power around him. His understanding and feelings of this top-notch holy void technique instantly surged into Kang Shinmu's mind. How good would it be if I could always have an opponent like this to fight against? Kang Shinmu felt that it wouldn't be long before he could truly start cultivating the holy void technique. Now, although he had gained a lot of understanding and feelings, he still needed more understanding in order to successfully cultivate the 2 holy void techniques. It was very difficult for him to gain these understandings by himself in a short period of time. Therefore, if he wanted to quickly cultivate the Holy Void technique, he still had to rely on the devouring power. No matter what, after Kang Shinmu devoured half of the opponent's virtual god's judgment's power, the remaining power of the opponent's attack didn't pose much of a threat to them anymore. Moreover, from the black hole of nothingness and the virtual god's judgment, Kang Shinmu had already devoured enough power. He wasn't sure if this power could kill his opponent, but he couldn't wait any longer. Kill. Before the opponent's power was completely devoured, Kang Shinmu completely gathered the power he had devoured and formed a virtual god's judgment. Through devouring, he had a deep understanding of this Holy Void technique. Although he couldn't perform it himself, it was easy for him to devour the opponent's energy to perform it. Suddenly, the space around him started to distort. Su Sun Luo hadn't expected that such a situation would occur. His technique had been blocked by his opponent, and his opponent had actually used the exact same technique against him. Humph. This Void God's adjudication was Su Senluo's own Holy Void martial technique. How could he possibly die under this technique? He immediately decided to defend. However, right after that, he felt his heart palpitate. Wisps of demon chi emanated from his surroundings. Then, one after another, pitch-black demonic orbs appeared out of thin air. These demonic orbs contained an extremely powerful demonic aura and released the power to seal the void. Heavenly demonic orbs. This was the top-notch desolate god demonic weapon that the little princess of the demon god tribe, Sui, had. Now, it belonged to Kang Shinmu. With his demon god ancestor's consciousness, he could activate this demonic weapon without any hindrance. Although the grade of Kang Shinmu's demon god bloodline was not high, with the help of the demon god ancestor, the heavenly demonic orb could still explode with greater power. The heavenly demonic orb exploded. A terrifying sealing force enveloped Su Sun Luo, sealing all the power in his body and preventing him from using it. At the same time, his empty god totem was surrounded by distorted space. Then, unable to resist, Su Sun Luo could only watch helplessly as his void god totem was instantly destroyed by the attack of the void god's judgment. His virtual god totem only lasted for 3 breaths of time before it completely collapsed along with the distorted space. Then, his body was completely crushed by the distorted space. He did not even have the slightest chance to struggle. The illusory human tribe's power came from the illusory totem condensed from the inheritance of the illusory power. When the illusory totem was destroyed, the illusory human tribe would not be able to unleash much of its power. As a result, the illusory human tribe was killed by his own judgment of the illusory god. As Su Sun Luo died, his body completely shattered, leaving only a void spirit pill in his body. This represented the condensation of all his cultivation power. The power of the virtual god's judgment exploded and quickly calmed down. The surrounding distorted space returned to normal. Kang Shinmu and the other 4 flew out together and quickly collected Su Senluo's void spirit pill. They also collected the heavenly oasis disc that he had just used. As for the other cultivation resources on him, Kang Shinmu did not stand on ceremony. He stored them in the storage space of the heavenly oasis disc. After taking it away, Jiang Shenwu immediately brought Xiao Yuhua and the other 3 away through the instant demon ring. Before leaving, he used the concealing black dragon stone to erase all traces of Su Senluo's aura. This ensured that no one would be able to tell how Su Sun Luo had died and who had killed him. All of this had been done without anyone knowing. After all, Kang Shinmu had already checked the surroundings to see if anyone was spying on them. However, he had not found anyone. Furthermore, if someone had been spying on them, someone would have definitely come to save Su Sun Luo when he was about to die. However, no one had. Therefore, Su Sun Luo had died on the battlefield of the Dragon Martial Continent like his 2 younger brothers. Furthermore, it could be said that he had died in vain. He did not even know who had killed him. In the silent void, Kang Xinmu led Xiao Yuhua and the other four and appeared in the void not far away from the martial dragon fortress. "We've gained a lot this time." Liang Xiao was a little excited. This Su Senluo's status in the void human tribe must be very high and very powerful. "I'm afraid that many of our Dragon Emperor instructors are no match for him. Now that we've killed him, all the credit will go to Brother Jiang." Xiao Yuhua nodded in agreement. "Kang Xinmu, all our gains this time belong to you. We don't need them. You can directly exchange them for better cultivation resources to increase your cultivation base." Kang Xinmu thought for a moment and nodded. In the past half a year, all their guardian points had been divided equally. Or rather, most of them had been used to exchange for advanced divine spirit dragon martial techniques. According to their estimations, the guardian points they could obtain from killing Su Senluo would probably be enough to exchange for 1.5 advanced divine spirit dragon martial techniques. Let's first ask what kind of person this Su Senluo is before considering how to distribute the guardian points. As Kang Xinmu spoke, he thought about it. If their gains this time could be exchanged for 2 advanced divine spirit dragon martial techniques, he would definitely choose to let the other 2 choose a advanced divine spirit dragon martial technique and cultivate it first. Although cultivating a advanced divine spirit dragon martial technique was very difficult, and it would still take a long time for them to develop their combat strength, it was precisely because of this that they had to prepare advanced divine spirit dragon martial techniques as soon as possible. Chapter 46-20. If it weren't for Xiao Yuhua and the others, Kang Xinmu wouldn't have been able to kill Su Senluo so easily. This time, it was Su Senluo. What about next time? Kang Xinmu still had a trump card that he hadn't used yet, and that was to let Xiao Yuhua and the others gather their power and let Kang Xinmu devour it. Then, Kang Xinmu could directly attack and kill his opponent. Although they hadn't tried using it against an enemy, Kang Xinmu and the others had already tried it. This method was feasible. They just needed some time for Xiao Yuhua and the others to gather their power and let Kang Xinmu devour it. When they were dealing with Su Senluo just now, they didn't have enough time. So they didn't use this move, but if they were evenly matched, Kang Xinmu and the others could use this move to finish off their opponent faster. Of course, this time, Kang Xinmu used the sky-imprisoning demon pearl. This thing was a desolate god demonic weapon filled with demon chi. Xiao Yuhua and the others were a little surprised, but they didn't ask much. They knew that Kang Xinmu definitely had his own secrets. They didn't even understand the most basic ability, the devouring power. Kang Xinmu didn't explain much. He had gone to the demon god battlefield to collect the various cultivation resources that Sui had given him, but he had gone alone. No one else knew. The 5 quietly returned to Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Academy office and found Ling Hudai. When they told Ling Hudai about Su Senluo, she almost couldn't believe it. Su Senluo was a top genius of the void human race. She didn't expect him to come to the battlefield of the Dragon Martial Continent. What was even more unexpected was that he had been killed by Kang Xinmu and the others. This was a great contribution. It should be known that in that chaotic battlefield, there were some forbidden areas that restricted one's cultivation level. In other words, only cultivators below a certain level could enter. Therefore, experts of the same level who could challenge those of a higher level were extremely welcome. When one's level was restricted, the stronger one was, the more benefits one could obtain in those forbidden areas. Su Senluo represented the void human race. He had obtained many benefits in many forbidden areas that restricted those below the 5th level of the Emperor level. He had even killed many geniuses of other races. That was why he was famous. Ling Hudai had heard of his name. This meant that Su Senluo should be invincible below the 5th level of the Emperor level. But now, he had been killed by Kang Xinmu and the others? This was too unbelievable. Moreover, Xiao Yuhua and the rest also said that Jiang Shenwu had basically completed this battle by himself. Of course, he had used Ling Yun's protective ring. This dragon weapon could only be used again after 7 days, however, in the end, Jiang Shenwu still killed Su Sanluo. Jiang Shenwu, on the other hand, could only stay inside for the next 7 days. The enemy couldn't possibly attack the martial dragon fortress. If not for Ling Yun's ring, Kang Xinmu would not have been able to withstand Su Sanluo's attack. The destructive power of that foe god's judgment was too strong. It even twisted and shattered space. It was extremely tyrannical. If Jiang Shenwu relied on his own defensive abilities, he might really be crushed by that move. After all, Su Sanluo had used the Heaven Oasis heavenly disc to activate the Void God's judgment. It had reached the ultimate destructive power. Other than Ling Yun's ring, almost no cultivator below the 5th level of the Emperor level could withstand this move. It was unbelievable that such an expert had been killed by Kang Xinmu. Logically, even if Kang Xinmu and the others could withstand one move from Su Sanluo, they shouldn't have been able to kill him. How could an ordinary person have the strength to use a killing move after barely resisting one move? Even if he used a killing move, Su Sanluo's defense was not weak. It was a pity that Kang Xinmu had the Heavenly Demon Pearl. Furthermore, the Heavenly Demon Pearl had been activated by the demon god ancestor. It was earth-shattering and could seal all of Su Sanluo's power. He couldn't use any power, so how could he use any defensive techniques? Therefore, this matter was a foregone conclusion. For the Void Human tribe, this was a great loss. For the other major tribes, it was a great blessing. Because once Su Sanluo grew up, he didn't need to grow too strong. As long as he reached the level of a super dragon god, he would be able to affect the overall situation. He could even raise the overall strength of the Void Human tribe to another level. And now, Su Sanluo had died in the Dragon Martial continent. He didn't even know who killed him. One could imagine how furious the Void Human tribe would be. Moreover, they would even speculate whether it was an expert above the Emperor level from another tribe who had taken action. Just to get rid of Su Sanluo? But they didn't have any evidence, and they couldn't guess who killed Su Sanluo. Perhaps only the higher-ups of the ancient Phoenix clan knew about this matter. This was because Kang Xinmu wanted to use Su Sanluo's spirit hollow pill to exchange with the ancient Phoenix clan. Killing Su Sanluo would be a great achievement. Ling Hu Dai took the spirit hollow pill and went to report to the ancient Phoenix clan. As for Kang Xinmu and the others, they rested in the office. Of course, they didn't have time to rest at all. They were in the process of cultivating bitterly. Cultivating dragon martial techniques required time. Raising one's cultivation level required time. Breaking through the grade of the divine dragon inheritance blood essence also required time. Therefore, they didn't have any time to rest. They had to seize every minute and second to increase their strength. It wasn't just Kang Xinmu and the others. The entire martial dragon fortress was basically in the same environment and atmosphere. Therefore, the strength of the dragon martial artists in the dragon martial continent could be said to be increasing rapidly. Compared to before, the number of martial artists in the dragon martial continent had more than doubled. This was mainly due to external pressure. Of course, there was also the supply of external cultivation resources. Otherwise, even Kang Xinmu wouldn't have been able to raise his current level in such a short period of time. Kang Xinmu and the others were cultivating in seclusion. The wind shadow flowing cloud flash had already been cultivated to the dragon rank and was about to break through to the heaven rank. It was only a step away. As for the divine dragon tyrant body art, it had been cultivated to the peak of the heaven rank. However, it would still take a long time to cultivate to the sage rank. Kang Xinmu had already taken the rising dragon marrow. However, he didn't have enough comprehension. He still lacked many other precious treasures. Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Academy couldn't provide them. Therefore, he could only give up. Chapter 46-21. In the entire Dragon Martial continent, there were only a handful of people who knew the strength of Kong Shinmu's group of 5. Linghu Dai, was one of them, and so was the dean of Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Academy, Yu Yaji. But apart from the two of them, even the other Dragon Emperor instructors of Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Academy did not know about the recent achievements of Kong Shinmu's group. In the past 6 months, Kong Shinmu's group had grown stronger, and their achievements were remarkable. They had even exchanged for 3 high-grade Divine Spirit Dragon Martial techniques. As for killing Su Sun Luo, that was even more amazing. Every time Kong Shinmu's group attacked or entered the Dragon Martial Fortress, they used the black concealing dragon stone to conceal themselves. Therefore, Xiaobai had not shown up. It seemed that someone had come to ask Kong Shinmu about this. Unfortunately, Kong Shinmu's own whereabouts were uncertain. If he was not in seclusion, he would be using the black concealing dragon stone to hunt the people of the 9 great clans. How could anyone have the chance to see Kong Shinmu? Kong Shinmu had heard that the evil prince had been looking for him, Xiaobai, and the others. Unfortunately, he had not been able to do so. Kong Shinmu did not know if he had given up or not. Of course, regardless of whether the evil prince had given up or not, Kong Shinmu could not be bothered to deal with him. He had to quickly improve his own strength, and then amaze the world at the Academy tournament. Finally, he would shine in the Academy exchange. Only then could he save the entire Dragon Martial continent. Linghu Dai had been gone for many days. Kong Shinmu also knew that the ancient Phoenix clan would probably have to discuss what reward they should give them, so he was not in a hurry. The 5 of them cultivated the Dragon Martial technique in the courtyard of Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Academy office. They also used some defense points to exchange for some natural treasures that contained the energy of the Dragon Mark. From there, they absorbed the Dragon Mark energy, and the quality of their inherited blood essence became even stronger. In the Dragon Martial Fortress, in a restaurant built by Dragon Emperor powerhouses, several students of Donghuang Yangwu College were chatting here. They had just hunted down 3 clansmen of Star God clan and gained a lot of defense points. They were now celebrating. Their leader was Lord Long, who was the first in the Divine Center area of Donghuang Yangwu College. In other words, he was the first in the Academy tournament of Donghuang Yangwu College half a year ago. In other words, those who were stronger than him had already become Dragon Emperor Mentor. Below Dragon Emperor Mentor, he was number 1. It was because Yu Tiangsheng, Emperor Qin, and more than a dozen other people had already become mentors of Dragon Emperor. Otherwise, Lord Long would not have had this opportunity, or even the chance to be the first in the Divine Center area. But now, he was used to being the first in the Divine Center area. His combat capability was solid. Dragon Emperor's blood essence was at the 4th level, and he was at the 7th level of the Reincarnation Tribulation realm. These 2 aspects were not the key. The key was that he had practiced the primary Holy Dragon martial skill, which had reached the peak of the Heaven level and was on the way to the Saint level. He also had an Earth level Holy Dragon weapon. He had already reached 70% to 80% compatibility with the Holy Dragon weapon and could exert 70% to 80% of its power. The combination of the 2 made Lord Long's explosive power extremely strong. There was another person he liked, and that was Qin Xiaoya, a female student of Donghuang Yangwu College. He had liked Qin Xiaoya for a long time, but he was no match for her in the past. It was only after the war between the 9 races that he got more opportunities than Qin Xiaoya with his adventurous spirit. Of course, Lord Long himself had also narrowly escaped death several times. He was almost killed on the battlefield and never came back. Because of this, Lord Long valued his current achievements more. He felt that there was no one in the 4 dragon and martial arts academies who dared to risk their lives and had good luck like him. Among the students in the Divine Center area of the 4 Dragon and Martial Arts Academies, Lord Long was the first. In this case, he was qualified to pursue Qin Xiaoya, wasn't he? Unfortunately, what he couldn't believe was that Qin Xiaoya actually looked down on him and tactfully rejected his pursuit. How could he endure this? The most important thing was that Qin Xiaoya appreciated Kong Xinmu a lot. Lord Long didn't have any feelings for Kong Xinmu at first, but this matter made him have a problem with Kong Xinmu. He had wanted to find Kong Xinmu several times to fight with him, but he never saw Kong Xinmu. Just yesterday, he wanted to find Kong Xinmu again. Unfortunately, Kong Xinmu had just come back and was in closed-door training, so he didn't see Kong Xinmu in the office of Emperor Xi's Dragon and Martial Arts Academy. In this case, Lord Long could only ask people to inform Kong Xinmu when they saw him. He didn't have so much time to wait for him. Kong Xinmu still hasn't shown up. How many months has it been? Since the collusion with the Fu Shui tribe last time, Kong Xinmu hasn't shown up many times. I heard that he has always been on the battlefield between the 9 races, but we haven't seen him on the battlefield. Nonsense, the battlefield of our Donghuang Yangu College is not on the battlefield between the Fu Shui tribe, the Demon God tribe, and the Virtual Human tribe. Of course we can't see him. Lin Shuang, tell us, what do you think Kong Xinmu and the others are doing now? Lord Long finally turned his eyes to Lin Shuang in the field. Lin Shuang was handsome and elegant. Looking at Lord Long's sturdy body, he felt a little disdainful, thinking, how could Qin Xiaoya like you? But on the surface, Lin Shuang still respected and even worshipped Lord Long. When his own team fell apart, he joined Lord Long's team, and now he was the vanguard of Lord Long's team. Because he had cultivated the dragon detection technique, his eyes were very good, and he could often foresee the coming danger. So Lin Shuang was now an indispensable member of Lord Long's team. As for the 2 surviving members who followed him before, they were directly abandoned by Lin Shuang. Everyone in Lord Long's team was an expert in the Divine Center area. There were 7 of them in total, and Lin Shuang had finally become the 8th member. How could he bring 2 more members with him? Lord Long would never accept them. They were just here to be bystanders. They were useless. Even if they only got 1% of the protection points for each mission, Lord Long wouldn't want them, because they couldn't play even 1% of the role. Lord Long asked Lin Shuang, what do you think Kong Xinmu and the others are doing now? Lin Shuang wasn't familiar with Kong Xinmu, but he had been in action with Lin Yuji and the others before, so he could make some guesses. So he said, Kong Xinmu is good at hiding when we saw him before. We can't see him, so it's very likely that he's deliberately hiding. So, why is he hiding? With him around, there shouldn't be anything to hide in Dragon Martial Fortress. So we guess, every time he goes in and out of Dragon Martial Fortress, is he bringing something that can't be seen, or is it someone who can't be seen? Chapter 46-22. Kong Xinmu had indeed brought Xiaobai with him. Xiaobai had been trapped by the evil prince's Crimson Rose Seal. Later, Xiaobai had disappeared, but his Crimson Rose Seal had appeared on the battlefield of the Virtual Human tribe and killed 2 geniuses of the Virtual Human tribe. Therefore, the evil prince had been troubled. The Virtual Human tribe had repeatedly pressured the Demon God tribe to hand over the evil prince. However, the evil prince was not the murderer, and the 2 tribes had almost fought. After signing the agreement, they had taken a break. Recently, the evil prince had been searching for the real murderer of the Virtual Human tribe. The only clue he had was Xiaobai. However, he had not been able to find Xiaobai. Once Xiaobai had appeared in the Longwu fortress, the evil prince would have received the news and rushed over to attack Xiaobai. Therefore, even when Liang Xiao and Donghuang Yangu College's Bian Feng and Chou Jingyun had fought outside the office of Emperor Xi's Dragon Martial Academy, Xiaobai had hidden and had not shown herself. Of course, she had followed Xiao Yuhua and Liang Xiao. However, she had also used the black concealing dragon stone's power to hide. Therefore, Xiao Bai had not appeared in the Longwu fortress in the past 6 months. Only Linghu Dai, and Yu Yaji knew about Xiao Bai's existence. Even the other Dragon Emperor instructors of Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Academy did not know about it. This was the secret of Xiao Bai. Now, in this restaurant, Lin Shuang had actually said that Kong Xinmu was hiding something. She was quite smart. Previously, when Kong Xinmu had helped them, they had not seen Xiao Bai. When they broke free and found that they were still alive, Kong Xinmu and the others had already killed the 3 Fu Shui clansmen, and Xiao Bai had hidden herself. How could they see Xiao Bai? Therefore, Xiao Bai's existence was also a secret to Lin Shuang and the others. Then, what is Kong Xinmu hiding? Lord Long's face darkened. Let's go and find out if there are any newcomers from the Dragon Emperor's court joining our Donghuang Yangwu College. The Yan Dragon Emperor dynasty was the Dragon Emperor kingdom where Kong Xinmu lived. Of course, anyone who paid a little attention to Kong Xinmu would know this. Therefore, Lord Long wanted to investigate and see if there were any students from Dragon Emperor Yan's side. What was the point of investigating the people of the Yan Dragon Emperor dynasty? To threaten Kong Xinmu, of course. As everyone knew, Kong Xinmu came from the Yan Dragon Emperor dynasty and had a good relationship with the Dragon Emperor. Naturally, he would be very concerned about the people from the Yan Dragon Emperor dynasty. Hearing Lord Long's words, Lin Shuang smiled gently. Lord Long, there's no need to investigate. I've already done it in advance. There are not many geniuses from the Yan Dragon Emperor dynasty, but because of the recent enrollment expansion of Dragon Martial Arts College, 3 new students have joined our Donghuang Yangwu College. One of them is called Jiang Liuxue. Her surname is also Jiang. Isn't it a coincidence? The other 2 are a pair of sisters called Shi Yueying and Shi Yutong. They are both first-class beauties in the world. It's said that they are related to Kong Xinmu. That's understandable. After all, Kong Xinmu came from the Yan Dragon Emperor dynasty. The top geniuses of the Yan Dragon Emperor dynasty are related to him. I don't think Kong Xinmu knows about this, because these 3 girls have just joined Donghuang Yangwu College and are still cultivating there. They are not qualified to come to Longwu Fortress. Lin Shuang said a lot, and everyone looked at him with admiration. Boy, you've done a thorough investigation. It seems that you care a lot about Kong Xinmu. Lord Long laughed. Of course he was happy now. He had been coveting Qin Xiaoye for a long time. She was his idol and dream lover before he rose to power. Now that he had risen to power, Qin Xiaoye still didn't like him, which made him feel depressed. Since Qin Xiaoye liked Kong Xinmu, as long as he defeated Kong Xinmu, he would naturally get Qin Xiaoye's favor, wouldn't he? Now that Kong Xinmu was in seclusion, he had no chance to fight with Kong Xinmu, so he had to start from other aspects. Then let's go back to the college first, find Jiang Liuxue and the sisters, and see how they are doing. Lord Long got up and left the restaurant with his people. Of course, Kong Xinmu didn't know that Jiang Liuxue and the Shi sisters had joined Donghuang Yangwu College at this time. He didn't know that someone like Lord Long was targeting him in Donghuang Yangwu College. Of course, Lord Long couldn't threaten Jiang Liuxue and the Shi sisters. After all, in Donghuang Yangwu College, even if Lord Long was the top student in the Divine Center District, he couldn't do anything to the 3 girls. They just wanted to get some information about Kong Xinmu from Jiang Liuxue and the Shi sisters. Unfortunately, Kong Xinmu hadn't returned to Dragon Emperor Yan for a long time. Of course, they didn't know how Kong Xinmu was doing. Lord Long wanted to ask about Kong Xinmu, but they wanted to know more than Lord Long. Unfortunately, they were not strong enough, so they could only stay in Donghuang Yangwu College and couldn't go to Longwu Fortress. 7 days and 7 nights after Kang Xinmu killed Su San Luo, Ling Hu Dai finally came back. This time, she brought back good news. Kang Xinmu, based on your performance this time, Emperor Shi Dragon God has agreed to let you leave Longwu continent and go to the macro world of dragon gods for training and training. Ling Hu Dai's eyes were full of admiration. It should be known that if the students of the 4 dragon martial academies wanted to be qualified to go to the macro world of dragon gods for training and training, they had to reach the level of Super Shinran. If they didn't reach the level of Super Shinran, they wouldn't be able to enter the eyes of the Supreme Shinran. But now, Kang Xinmu was only at the 3rd level of Dragon Emperor Divine Dragon's inheritance, and he had gotten such an opportunity. His performance was so good that even Emperor Shi Dragon God was tempted. With Ling Hu Dai's aptitude, she would be given priority to train in the Dragon God's world. However, she was still far from being qualified to be nurtured. At the very least, she would have to wait until she reached the level of Super Dragon. Although she was only 1 step away, she had yet to make a breakthrough. There was still a huge gap between them. What? Kang Xinmu was shocked by this news. Leave Longwu continent and go to the macro world of dragon gods for training? If it was in the past, he would have fought hard for this opportunity, but now, the whole Longwu continent was in danger. How could he leave Longwu continent alone? Wouldn't that be leaving all his friends and family here to be enslaved? So, Kang Xinmu was shocked at first, then he frowned and looked at Ling Hu Dai. Mentor Ling Hu, if I leave Longwu continent, won't I leave it here to die? I don't want to leave now. Chapter 46-23. Seeing Kang Xinmu's resolute attitude, Ling Hu Dai smiled and did not try to persuade Kang Xinmu. Instead, she continued to talk about another topic. This is the second good news. The crisis of the dragon god's macro world has basically been resolved by half. The supreme divine dragons will soon be able to come and protect the martial dragon continent. Kang Xinmu, I have to say that it is because you killed Su San Luo that the supreme divine dragons chose to protect the martial dragon continent. Even if the crisis of the dragon god's macro world has been resolved by half, the number of supreme divine dragons is still not enough. There are dozens of small worlds similar to the martial dragon continent, and they can only choose some to protect. Now, they have decided to protect the martial dragon continent first. This news was truly good news for Kang Xinmu. When he heard this news, Kang Xinmu could not believe it. Because he killed Su San Luo, the martial dragon continent's 9 races battlefield was going to be closed. This was simply unexpected. Jiang Shenwu really didn't understand Su San Luo's status. Su San Luo could be said to be the most outstanding person in the younger generation of the Void Human tribe. He was an outstanding talent and a top genius of the tribe. But he had been killed in the martial dragon continent. Didn't this mean that there was someone more talented than Su San Luo among the younger generation of dragon martial artists in the martial dragon continent? How could they let the martial dragon continent fall? Hurry up and liberate the martial dragon continent. Let the supreme divine dragons come and solve the problem. As for the genius dragon martial artist who killed Su San Luo, recruit him to the dragon god's macro world for training. At this point, the dragon god's decision had been made. The crisis of the martial dragon continent had been completely resolved. Jiang Shenwu had even thought that he would have to wait until the 4 great academies' grand competition and the end of the exchange before he could show his worth. He hadn't expected that he would be able to resolve the martial dragon continent's crisis so smoothly. For Kang Xinmu, this was, of course, great news. This meant that he didn't have to stay on this side of the martial dragon continent. He could go to the dragon god's great world. He believed that there would be more opportunities for him to grow faster in that great world. Now that the martial dragon continent's crisis had been resolved, it was a good thing for him. He no longer had to worry about the future. However, Kang Xinmu narrowed his eyes and thought for a moment. How could this matter be so coincidental? He had just killed Su Sun Luo, and the supreme divine dragons of the great world of the dragon gods were free to deal with the problem of the martial dragon continent. What a coincidence! It was so coincidental that Kang Xinmu couldn't believe it. Hence, he thought about it and thought of a possibility. Could this be the case? That was, there were many small worlds under the great world of the dragon gods. They could have chosen to protect some of them, but the original dragon martial continent's overall strength was too weak, and it could not become the target of the supreme divine dragon's protection. It didn't mean that all the small worlds could not be protected. The supreme divine dragons might have chosen other small worlds to protect, but they just gave up on the martial dragon continent. Now that Kang Xinmu had killed Su Sun Luo and proved his strength and talent, the martial dragon continent would stand out. At the same time, Kang Xinmu also wondered which unlucky small world had lost the qualification to be protected by the supreme divine dragons because of the rise of the martial dragon continent. He didn't know. But in short, the situation of the martial dragon continent should have become better. Of course, the bet between the 9 races will continue, and they will not withdraw for the time being, Ling Hu Dai said with a smile. This situation is good for both sides. The 9 races can use our battlefield to train their soldiers, and the casualty rate is much lower than on the chaotic battlefield. We can also take back the cultivation resources that belong to us from the 9 races, such as the divine dragon marrow, some holy dragon weapons, and so on. Kang Xinmu understood this quite well. In the end, whichever of the 9 races won would be able to suppress the other races. It would be very good in terms of reputation, and there might be some substantial rewards in the agreement. The original reward was the right to enslave the martial dragon continent. But now that the supreme divine dragons had expressed that they wanted to protect the martial dragon continent, this reward would definitely be cancelled. As for what other reward it would be, it was hard to say. In short, the crisis of the martial dragon continent had been resolved, and Kang Xinmu was qualified to go to the great world of the dragon gods to cultivate. But the battle between the 9 races would continue, and he wanted to see if there were more geniuses emerging under the pressure. The news that the martial dragon continent was safe should not be released to others, but Kang Xinmu felt that this was normal. I can go to the great world of the dragon gods to cultivate, but, can I bring my friends? Kang Xinmu said after thinking for a moment. Ling Hu Dai pursed her lips and smiled. I already guessed that you would make such a request. Emperor, she said that you can bring your friends, but you can only bring one of them. Kang Xinmu suddenly scratched his head. If he could only bring one, then things would be a little difficult. Generally speaking, Ran would definitely be brought along, but, if there was only one spot, then Kang Xinmu could only leave with Xiao Bai. Although the martial dragon continent was safe now, Kang Xinmu knew that the previous hatred still existed. Their team had killed 2 geniuses of the void human race, and now they had killed Su Sun Luo. Once Xiao Bai appeared, both the void human race and the evil prince of the demon god race would be interested in investigating. Once the matter broke out, Xiao Bai and the others would be in danger. To be safe, it was better to bring Xiao Bai with them. Kang Xinmu decided to leave the black concealing dragon stone to Xiao Yuhua and let her lead the team. He would bring Xiao Bai with him. Without Kang Xinmu, their team's soul and backbone would be gone. However, the 3 of them were still very strong. Even if they couldn't defeat someone like Su Sun Luo, they would be fine as long as they didn't go to the battlefield of the void human race in the future. The battlefield of the water race and the demon god race wouldn't have such a top genius. Therefore, as long as they had the black concealing dragon stone, they would be relatively safe. They could roam the battlefield and hunt some of the weaker clansmen to exchange for the cultivation resources they needed. Then I will bring Xiao Bai with me, said Kang Xinmu. Jiang Xinwu said. Then, he asked, oh, right, are the guardian points we obtained enough to exchange for 2 more high-grade divine spirit dragon martial techniques? Enough. Chapter 46-24. Kang Xinmu took the jade slip and saw that it recorded the rewards for his team for killing Su Sun Luo. First, he was qualified to go to the Dragon God's macro world to cultivate and train, and he could bring 1 member of his team with him. Because the cultivation resources in the Dragon God's macro world were very precious, even if 2 of them joined, it would have a great impact, so Kang Xinmu could only bring 1 of them at most. Second, each member of his team would get a certain number of guardian points. These guardian points could be exchanged for 3 advanced Holy Spirit dragon martial arts techniques. This was the main reward. If Kang Xinmu planned to exchange for 2 advanced Holy Spirit dragon martial arts techniques, the remaining guardian points would be left for Xiao Yuhua, Liang Xiao, and Ran Ran. Third, after Kang Xinmu went to the Dragon God's macro world, he could join the Holy Land of 5-pole mysterious ice. This was a supreme holy land in the Dragon God's macro world. There was no specific information about the Holy Land of 5-pole mysterious ice in the jade slip. However, Kang Xinmu felt that the Holy Land of 5-pole mysterious ice was probably the place where the real ice power of 5-pole mysterious ice had fallen in ancient times, forming a supreme holy land. This made Kang Xinmu think of Shi Yueying, who had the inheritance of the ice dragon. Before he left this time, he definitely had to go back and take a look. Now, Kang Xinmu's divine dragon inheritance blood had reached the 3rd level of the Dragon Emperor. The dragon mark energy in his body was much stronger than the Dragon King level. Therefore, if he saw Shi Yueying and the others again, he could transfer some dragon mark energy to them, at least so that they could step into the Dragon King level. If they reached the Dragon King level, they would at least be qualified to join the Dragon Martial Academy. Of course, Kang Xinmu did not know that the 3 of them had already joined the Dragon Martial Academy. However, Kang Xinmu hoped that they would join Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Academy, because the 3 of them were women, and they were more suitable to cultivate the dragon martial arts techniques of Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Academy. Moreover, the situation in Donghuang Yangwu College was a bit complicated, mainly because of the questionable character of Dean Zhou Xiaofan. As long as the 3 women reached the Dragon King level, they would naturally have more ways to improve their cultivation after they entered the Dragon Martial Academy. For Kang Xinmu, this was to do something for them before he left. Now that the martial dragon continent was being invaded by 9 major races, it was both an opportunity and a challenge for the dragon warriors. Although it was dangerous, if they could overcome all the obstacles and burst out with power, their cultivation speed would definitely surpass any other time. When their strength reaches Yuheng district, we can ask Xiao Yuhua and the others to help us and bring the 3 of them out to hunt. Even if they only practiced some auxiliary dragon martial skills, it's still pretty good. Kang Xinmu thought. The so-called auxiliary dragon martial skill was the detection dragon martial skill, the concealment dragon martial skill and so on. If the 3 girls were proficient in the auxiliary dragon martial skill, it would be quite useful in the battlefield of the 9 races. Thinking of Lin Shuang, Kang Xinmu's face darkened. He thought of Lin Yuji, Qin Fengyu, and Lu Hua. The 3 of them were still in danger. Of course, Yu Yaji had sent a message saying that they were fine, but they had been sent to the chaotic battlefield for training. This could be considered an opportunity. At that time, Zhou Xiaofang only wanted to make them disappear and had no intention of killing them. After all, as the dean of Donghuang Yangwu College, how could he kill students from his own college? Even if he wanted to frame Kang Xinmu, he wouldn't do such a thing. Therefore, the 3 of them were sent to the chaotic battlefield. The chaos battlefield was not the same as the great world of the dragon gods. The chaos battlefield was a place where countless races fought each other. It was very dangerous, and even supreme divine dragons could die there. However, there were many ancient forbidden grounds in the chaos battlefield. It was a place full of opportunities, but many of them restricted the cultivation of those who could enter. Therefore, if Lin Yuji and the other two went to the chaos battlefield, they might not necessarily die. Instead, they might have opportunities. Anyway, they would not act on their own. After being sent to the chaos battlefield, there would definitely be a dragon warrior squad of the Dragon God clan leading them. Otherwise, with their cultivation, it would be impossible for them to survive in the chaos battlefield. Kang Shinmu was more interested in the chaos battlefield. After all, he was not only cultivating the divine dragon inheritance of the dragon gods, but he was also cultivating the inheritance of the demon god race and the power of void inheritance of the void human race. These inheritances could not be exposed in the great world of the dragon gods. But in the chaos battlefield, not only could he be exposed, but he could also disguise himself. Disguise as a cultivator of the void human race or a cultivator of the demon god race. These were all possible. As long as Kang Shinmu was willing, the inheritance aura in his body could completely cover his whole body. Whether he was a cultivator of the demon god race or the void human race, there would be no problem. Of course, it was impossible now. It would be impossible even in the great world of the dragon gods. Now, Kang Shinmu was looking forward to the 5 extremes mysterious ice holy land. He hoped that he would be able to obtain more cultivation resources there so that his cultivation speed would be faster. Every supreme holy land has at least one supreme divine dragon guarding it. Linghu Dai introduced it to Kang Shinmu. The master of the 5 extremes mysterious ice holy land is a close friend of Emperor Shi. So, when you go there, you can rest assured. Of course, remember not to cause trouble. The dragon warriors cultivating in the Holy Land are not to be trifled with. Yes, I understand. Kang Shinmu nodded. Of course, he could not be bothered to cause trouble. He did not even have time to cultivate, so how could he cause trouble? He only wanted to quickly increase his battle prowess. He needed to cultivate the dragon martial arts techniques, increase his cultivation realm, and make a breakthrough in the divine dragon inheritance blood essence. It was said that in the supreme holy land of the dragon god's great world, the dragon mark's energy was even denser than that of the 4 great dragon martial arts academies Dubhe district. This made Kang Shinmu yearn for it. If he went there, he might be able to quickly absorb the dragon mark's energy and increase his divine dragon inheritance blood essence. In addition to the above 3 rewards, there was one more thing. That was, the 3 people in Kang Shinmu's team would become the focus of Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Arts Academy in the future. As long as they were willing, they could have professional Dragon Emperor tutors to guide them, so that they would not go astray in their cultivation. No matter what kind of questions they had, these Dragon Emperor tutors would definitely provide them with the most professional answers. And these answers, it was very likely that they themselves did not know. For example, in regards to the cultivation and comprehension of some dragon martial arts techniques, if there were no professional Dragon Emperor tutors to answer them, they might have to spend a long time to explore. Let them come out first. Let them choose the high-level divine spirit dragon martial arts techniques first. Kang Shinmu said quickly. At this point, the 5 of them had all the high-level divine spirit dragon martial arts techniques. Next, they only needed to cultivate properly. Dragon martial arts techniques of this level were very difficult to cultivate, but it was better than not cultivating at all. Chapter 46-25. Soon, Xiao Yuhua and the others appeared by Kang Shinmu's side. When they heard that Kang Shinmu was going to take Xiao Bai away, they were very surprised at first. Then, when they heard that the Dragon Martial Continent was out of danger, their faces lit up with joy. Only Ran was a little disappointed. After all, she really wanted to go with Kang Shinmu. However, she also knew that Xiao Bai could not appear in the current situation. So, letting Xiao Bai follow Kang Shinmu to the Dragon God's great world was the best choice. Then, the remaining two people began to choose high-level Holy Spirit Dragon martial arts techniques. Kang Xinmu chose the 9-stage Extreme Tao Hui Dragon Explosion. He had only cultivated the first stage, so he could only be considered a beginner. So, if he wanted to cultivate high-level Holy Spirit Dragon martial arts techniques, he really did not need half a year's time. They went to choose. As for Kang Xinmu, he discussed with Xiao Bai what to do next. After all, they were going to a whole new world. Kang Xinmu did not have any relatives or friends. He just wanted to go back to the Yen Dragon Emperor's court. As for Xiao Bai, he did not know how she was doing. In the past, Kang Xinmu did not ask much about Xiao Yuhua and Xiao Bai's background. But now, after some discussion, he knew that Xiao Bai was the illegitimate daughter of a Dragon Emperor of the Dragon Emperor nation. Unfortunately, that Dragon Emperor expert had died 11 years ago. Xiao Bai had been living with her poor mother. Later, when her divine dragon inheritance bloodline awakened, it directly became a top-notch heavenly dragon bloodline. This made her sore. As for her mother, she was now well taken care of and protected by the successor of the Dragon Emperor nation, the Dragon Emperor. After all, Xiao Bai was now a top genius of Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Academy, just like Kang Xinmu's status in the Yen Dragon Emperor's court. So, the Dragon Emperor nation where Xiao Bai lived would certainly not mistreat her mother. Of course, she still had to go back. No matter what, this trip to the Dragon God's great world was an opportunity, but it was also risky. Then let's go back together. Oh, by the way, you rest in the Dragon Martial Fortress. I have to go back to the Yen Dragon Emperor's court first. Kang Xinmu said to Xiao Bai. Xiao Bai nodded her head in agreement. When they first met, the girl's attitude towards Kang Xinmu was rather cold. But now, they were familiar enough with each other. So, Xiao Bai treated Kang Xinmu like she treated Xiao Yuhua. She regarded him as her best friend. Kang Xinmu's return to the Yen Dragon Emperor's court to bid farewell would not take a few days. During this time, she could continue to cultivate. As for Kang Xinmu, he used his remaining guardian points to exchange for heavenly treasures that contain dragon mark energy. He planned to give these heavenly treasures to the Jiang clan of the Dragon Emperor's court, as well as the Shi clan residents. Of course, he had to act secretly. It was absolutely impossible for this information to be leaked. Otherwise, it would definitely bring disaster to the Jiang clan and the Shi mansion. Heavenly treasures that contain dragon mark energy were extremely precious to all the dragon warriors of the Yen Dragon Emperor's court. Countless dragon warriors pursued these treasures their entire lives, because once they had such treasures, they could break through the bottleneck and rush to a higher grade of divine dragon's blood essence. From Sky Dragon to Divine Dragon, from Divine Dragon to Dragon King. Even from Dragon King to Dragon Emperor, everything was possible. Therefore, Kang Xinmu did not intend to distribute these heavenly treasures with great fanfare. He only planned to give them to Jiang Liuxue and the Shi clan sisters, and let them distribute them themselves. Of course, Kang Xinmu would also use his devouring power to transfer some of the dragon mark energy to them. Currently, the dragon mark energy in Kang Xinmu's body was simply too abundant compared to theirs. Even if the grade of their divine dragon's blood essence was directly raised to that of the Dragon King's, Kang Xinmu would not lose much dragon mark energy. The dragon mark energy was nothing to Kang Xinmu, and he could even recover it in a few days. Soon, everyone's matters at Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Academy were basically settled. After choosing the high-grade divine dragon martial arts techniques, they all bid farewell to Kang Xinmu. Of course, after Kang Xinmu returned to the Yen Dragon Emperor's court, he was still prepared to return to Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Academy. He wanted to accompany Xiao Bai back to her Dragon Emperor's country to have a look. As for the exact time of departure, it might take another half a month. During this time, Kang Xinmu would not neglect his cultivation. He knew that his strength was not considered strong, especially when he went to the dragon god's great world. Because the grade of the divine dragon's blood essence was not high, and his cultivation realm was not high, it was very likely that he would be bullied in the holy lands of 5 extremes mysterious ice. He had to be prepared for such a situation, lest he was caught off guard and not be able to react in time. This was an opportunity and also a test. If his performance was too poor, perhaps even the holy lands of 5 extremes mysterious ice would not tolerate him. After all, as a powerful existence who could kill Su and Luo, he was specially summoned to the holy lands of 5 extremes mysterious ice. If his performance was not satisfactory, it was very likely that he would encounter some unnecessary trouble. Of course, if Kang Xinmu was given the cold shoulder, he could go directly to the chaotic battlefield. However, he was afraid that in this way, the Dragon Martial Continent, which had just escaped danger, would once again fall into war and chaos. If the Supreme Divine Dragons went back on their word because his talent was not as strong as imagined and no longer planned to protect the Dragon Martial Continent, it would be a tragedy for Kang Xinmu. The dragon gods are fighting with many races on the chaotic battlefield. Right now, there should be several large races that have joined forces to invade the dragon god's great world. Thus, many Supreme Divine Dragons have been restrained. It can be seen that the current dragon god's great world is not peaceful. Of course, no matter how chaotic it is still much better than the chaotic battlefield. Kang Xinmu did not know what would happen if he went to the dragon god's great world. In any case, he just had to be prepared for all possibilities. The remaining guardian points were all exchanged by Kang Xinmu for cultivation resources. He did not keep any because these guardian points were useless to him. As for the reward for killing Su and Luo, the 2 high-level divine spirit dragon martial techniques took up more than half of it. The rest were kept for Xiao Yuhua and the other 2. Kang Xinmu did not use too many. Su and Luo still had 2 heaven-level phantom weapons on him, including the heaven illusionary disc. Kang Xinmu also kept them and did not hand them over. He thought that he might be able to use these things in the future. After all, they were top-level phantom weapons. Unfortunately, Kang Xinmu did not have a complete understanding of the black hole of nothingness and the judgment of nothingness. If he devoured more of the power of the Void Human Tribe's holy void martial techniques, he might be able to understand a little. Even if he only cultivated them to the lowest human level, it would be fine. Everything had been arranged. Next, Kang Xinmu planned to return to the Yen Dragon Emperor's court. Chapter 46-26. After returning to the Yen Dragon Emperor's court, Kang Xinmu first returned to the Jiang clan. He saw his mother, the many dragon warriors of the Jiang clan, and some of the younger dragon warriors. These dragon warriors were very excited about Kang Xinmu's return, because Kang Xinmu was the pride of the Jiang clan. Now, because of Kang Xinmu and Jiang Liuxue, the Jiang clan's position in the Yen Dragon Emperor's court had become very high. It could even be compared to the Shi mansion in Dragon Prison City. In the Jiang clan, due to the sufficient cultivation resources, many talented youths had emerged. These youths held positions in Dragon Prison City, cultivating and gaining experience. As for the other tribes around Dragon Prison City, they had been left far behind by the Jiang clan. Of course, Ji clan's Ji Yeshuan seemed to have first-rate talent. She had also joined the Dragon Martial Academy, which was said to be Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Academy. However, Kang Xinmu had never seen her before. After all, Kang Xinmu had always been operating in Dragon Martial Fortress. He rarely returned to Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Academy. Even if he did return occasionally, it was unlikely that he would meet an old friend. Ji Yeshuan actually joined Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Academy. She has good taste. It's Jiang Liuxue who actually joined Donghuang Yangwu College. After returning to the Jiang clan, Kang Xinmu learned of this matter. After all, this was a major event for the Jiang clan. This was the second student from the Jiang clan to be chosen to join the Dragon Martial Academy. This proved that the Jiang clan was stronger and had more potential than the surrounding tribes. Of course, the level that Kang Xinmu had reached was unknown to the dragon warriors of the Jiang clan and the surrounding tribes. Very few of them knew what had happened to the Dragon Martial Academy and Dragon Martial Fortress. They did not even know of the existence of Dragon Martial Fortress. After all, this matter was too far away from them. Kang Xinmu stayed in the Jiang tribal clan for 3 days. It was not because he was reluctant to part with the Jiang tribal clan, but because he was accompanying his mother. After leaving this time, the chances of him returning would be even lesser. Kang Xinmu had told her about his father. His mother had only warned him that no matter what happened, he had to prioritize his own life. As long as he was still alive, anything was possible. Kang Xinmu nodded in agreement. He also remembered his mother's words. If there was no need to risk his life, then there was no need to. After all, as long as he was alive, he would have the chance to rescue his father from the dragon's sealing abyss. 3 days later, Kang Xinmu left the Jiang clan and went to the Shi clan residence in Dragon Prison City. He met the sacred dragon, Shi Tao, or rather, the current Dragon King, Shi Tao. Shi Tao wasn't too far away from Dragon King's level to begin with. Now, he had received the care of Dragon Emperor Yan. Many cultivation resources were thrown at him, allowing him to directly break through to the level of Dragon King's divine dragon's blood essence. Shi Tao had also taken over the position of Dragon Prison City's city lord. Although he was busy, he kept talking about his 2 daughters. Shi Yueying and Shi Yutong had actually joined Donghuang Yangwu College. This was something Kang Xinmu had never expected. Perhaps, all of this was related to Zhuo Xiaofeng? After Zhuo Xiaofeng's investigation, he wanted to use the 3 girls to restrict Kang Xinmu? Kang Xinmu did not know the exact situation. In short, he had gone to Yan Dragon City once, but unfortunately, he did not see Dragon Emperor Yan. As Yan Dragon Emperor had not reached the 5th level of Dragon Emperor, the Dragon Emperor mentor, he had spent most of his time fighting on the battlefield of the 9 major races, obtaining cultivation resources to improve himself. Dragon Emperor Yan also had the desire to become stronger. This was the same for everyone. Experiencing danger, killing the servants or clansmen of the 9 major races, and finally obtaining enough cultivation resources to break through. For Dragon Emperor Yan, it was a little difficult for him to become an existence at the level of Dragon Emperor Mentor. However, if he could accumulate enough battle merits and obtain enough guardian points, it was still possible for him to break through to the 4th level of Dragon Emperor. After all, Dragon Emperor Yan's bottleneck had come when he was at the 2nd level of Dragon Emperor. Subsequent breakthroughs would require several times more cultivation resources and dragon mark energy. Of course, Dragon Emperor Yan was already at the 3rd level of Dragon Emperor Legacy Blood Essence. It would not be long before he could break through to the 4th level of Dragon Emperor. From the 4th level to the 5th level was a watershed. It was not easy. Therefore, Dragon Emperor Yan might give up working hard at that time. After all, when the time came, Dragon Emperor Mentor could also step onto the battlefield to fight. His current strength was not enough. Going on the battlefield was purely seeking death. Since Dragon Emperor Yan was not in Yan Dragon City, there was no need for Kang Xinmu to stay. In the end, he went near the sealed dragon abyss and looked at it from afar for an hour. He secretly made up his mind that one day, he would rescue his father. Next, Kang Xinmu first went to Dragon Martial Fortress. He did not see Dragon Emperor Yan. It was possible that he was fighting with the 9 major races on the battlefield outside. Therefore, Kang Xinmu did not wait for Dragon Emperor Yan. He went directly to Donghuang Yangwu College. If it was in the past, he really did not dare to come to this place. For him, although this place was an old place, his great enemy, Zhuo Xiaofeng, was here. If he came to Donghuang Yangwu College in the past, it would be equivalent to walking into a trap. Wouldn't it give Zhuo Xiaofeng a chance to deal with him? But now, he was not afraid of Zhuo Xiaofeng at all, nor did he worry that he would attack him. Because he had been selected to cultivate in the holy lands of 5 extremes dark ice in the Dragon God clan world. If something happened to him in Donghuang Yangwu College, Zhuo Xiaofeng would definitely not be able to bear the consequences. Therefore, even if Zhuo Xiaofeng knew about Kang Xinmu's arrival, there was nothing he could do. No one knew where Zhuo Xiaofeng was now, but if he knew, he could only watch as Kang Xinmu came to Donghuang Yangwu College to find them. He would probably be so angry that he would vomit blood. Kang Xinmu came to Donghuang Yangwu College to find Jiang Liuxue and the Shi sisters, of course. Kang Xinmu was still worried about the 3 of them staying in Donghuang Yangwu College, so he wanted to bring them out and send them to Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Academy. Now, the recruitment requirements of the major Dragon Martial Academies had been greatly relaxed. With Kang Xinmu's recommendation, it would not be a big problem for the 3 of them to enter Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Academy. Moreover, they could also cultivate with Xiao Yuhua and the other 2 sisters in the future, so that Xiao Yuhua and the others could take care of them. When he came to Donghuang Yangwu College, he planned to ask for directions. After all, he did not know where Jiang Liuxue and the others were. With the arrival of Kang Xinmu, the central square, which was supposed to only have 100 people, was now filled with 300 to 400 people. Most of these students were like Jiang Liuxue and her 2 companions, who had recently joined Donghuang Yangwu College due to the expansion of the Dragon Martial Academy. There were also some who came from the hidden dragon warrior clans. Before those young juniors reached the strength of the Yuheng district, they could only obediently stay in the Eastern Emperor Dragon Martial Academy. Right now, the Academy's cultivation resources were much more than their own clans. Moreover, the resources obtained from Dragon Martial Academy were plentiful for no reason. Their respective hidden dragon warrior families still had a lot of resources. Those hidden dragon warrior families had a vague attitude toward Kang Xinmu. Many students didn't even know who Kang Xinmu was, but they had heard from their family elders that Kang Xinmu was in the limelight at Longwu Fortress. Therefore, they were curious and wanted to come and see. But they thought to themselves, no matter how strong Kang Xinmu was, he couldn't be stronger than Lord Long, could he? After all, Lord Long was the #1 student in the Divine Center District of Donghuang Yangwu College. He had 3 students from the Divine Center District under his command, all of whom were in his team. Among the students of Donghuang Yangwu College, it could be said that Lord Long was the #1 in both strength and influence. But Kang Xinmu had come alone to look for Jiang Liuxue and her 2 companions. Didn't that mean that he was running into Lord Long's gun? Who didn't know that Lord Long was with Jiang Liuxue and her 2 companions, trying to please them? In the central square of Donghuang Yangwu College, hundreds of people were shouting. In the square, Lord Long had just defeated one of his team members, showing his unparalleled aggressiveness. There were even a few acquaintances of Kang Xinmu. Chu Yi, Qin Xiaoye, Luo Han, and Su Qin. They were all here, including Zhu Wudi. They came to the central square to see Lord Long's current strength. After seeing him, Qin Xiaoye and Zhu Wudi both narrowed their eyes. This Lord Long used to be the #1 student in the Divine Center District, but after he got this title, he didn't seem to cultivate hard. Now the combat strength he showed was really ordinary, completely incomparable to the original Yu Tianchang. Even compared with Qin Xiaoye and Zhu Wudi, he was still a level lower. After the last school competition, Qin Xiaoye and Zhu Wudi could be said to have advanced by leaps and bounds. Now their combat strength was very strong, but they didn't know the situation of the other students in the Divine Center District, so they came back to have a look. But Lord Long's strength disappointed both of them. Among them, Zhu Wudi felt that Lord Long's strength was no match for him at all, judging from the strength he had shown. Of course, what Lord Long showed now was not his full strength. But if Zhu Wudi fought against Lord Long's opponents, he didn't even need to use 30% of his strength. Now they were all at the 4th level of the Dragon Emperor's Divine Dragon Inheritance, reaching the peak level before Dragon Emperor Mentor. As for their cultivation, they were at the 7th level of the Reincarnation Tribulation Realm. This level was already extremely terrifying. After all, their daily efforts were not in vain. Kong Shinmu's team was not the only one who had killed members of the 9 clans. Whether it was Zhu Wudi or Qin Xiaoya, they had killed many members of the 9 clans. In such an environment, Kong Shinmu's figure appeared over the central square, reflected in the eyes of all the people present. Zhu Wudi, Qin Xiaoya, and the others were stunned. Chapter 46-28. Those who knew Kong Shinmu were all looking in the direction where Kong Shinmu was flying from with a surprised look on their faces. Those who had never seen Kong Shinmu before kept asking the people around them who he was because they saw many people looking at Kong Shinmu with a surprised look. When they found out that it was Kong Shinmu, they were all surprised. Before long, the entire central square of Donghuang Yangwu College became even livelier. Countless people were surprised and looked at Kong Shinmu flying over with a strange look on their faces. They had all heard that Kong Shinmu was a traitor of Donghuang Yangwu College. This saying was especially popular in Donghuang Yangwu College, and many people would talk about it. It had almost become an illusion of Donghuang Yangwu College. Very few people knew the truth. Even those who knew wouldn't spread it around. Not to mention that those who knew wouldn't stand up and speak, even if they stood up and spoke for Jiang Shenwu, no one would believe them. This was the influence created by Zhou Xiaofan, the dean of Donghuang Yangwu College. Under such circumstances, even if Qin Xiaoya and the others wanted to speak up for Kong Shinmu, they would not be able to affect the general trend. Therefore, most people in Donghuang Yangwu College still believed that Kong Shinmu had betrayed Donghuang Yangwu College. One could imagine how shocking it was for Kong Shinmu to appear in Donghuang Yangwu College under such circumstances. This traitor still had the nerve to come back. Immediately, the students of Dragon Martial College in the square were filled with righteous indignation and glared at Kong Shinmu. However, there were 2 Dragon Emperor mentors who were originally here to be judges for Lord Dragon Emperor's competition. They were on good terms with Lord Dragon Emperor. After all, according to the current situation, Lord Dragon Emperor would soon become a figure on the same level as Dragon Emperor's mentors. When the 2 mentors saw Kong Shinmu, their expressions changed slightly. It was not because they thought Kong Shinmu was a traitor. They knew very well that Kong Shinmu had left Donghuang Yangwu College. However, as mentors of Dragon Emperor, they would not meddle in this kind of business. Especially when this matter involved Dean Zhou Xiaofan. When the 2 Dragon Emperor mentors saw Kong Shinmu, their expressions changed because they did not expect that Kong Shinmu would come to Donghuang Yangwu College. No matter what he was here for, it meant that he had an absolute backer. Otherwise, how would he dare to come here? And what Kong Shinmu was doing was definitely not good for Donghuang Yangwu College. Therefore, they subconsciously wanted to step forward and stop Kong Shinmu from entering. But at this time, Lord Dragon Emperor saw Kong Shinmu and his expression changed slightly. Then he laughed and said, "Kong Shinmu, I've been looking for you everywhere. You actually came to me yourself." It seemed that Lord Dragon Emperor wanted to compete with Kong Shinmu. The 2 Dragon Emperor mentors were instantly relieved. With Lord Dragon Emperor present, Kong Shinmu could not be Lord Dragon Emperor's opponent, could he? After all, Lord Dragon Emperor was the top student in the Tianshu district of Donghuang Yangwu College. And Kong Shinmu's ranking in Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Arts College was unknown. Kong Shinmu did not participate in the last school competition. They could only know from some rumors that Kong Shinmu's strength was very good, at least stronger than Qin Xiaoye's. But in last year's school competition, Qin Xiaoye was not Lord Dragon Emperor's opponent, and the gap was very big. Now Lord Dragon Emperor's strength must be stronger, and it was impossible for him to lose to Kang Xinmu. As mentors of Dragon Emperor, it was not convenient for them to take action. But with Lord Dragon Emperor present, no matter what Kang Xinmu wanted to do, Lord Dragon Emperor would not let Kang Xinmu succeed. "Who are you?" When Lord Dragon Emperor called out Kang Xinmu's name, Kang Xinmu looked at the black dragon flying in the sky and asked with a somewhat indifferent expression. As he asked, he glanced at the spectator stands below. Jiang Liuxue and the other two girls were here to watch the fight. Where were they? Before Kang Xinmu could find the three girls, Lord Dragon Emperor had already been choked by Kang Xinmu's question. Who was he? He was Lord Dragon Emperor. He was the top student in the Tianshu district of Donghuang Yangwu College. In the whole of Donghuang Yangwu College, he was the strongest except for Mentor Dragon Emperor. But this Kang Xinmu did not know him, and he even asked who he was to his face. Was there a mistake? This was the home ground of Donghuang Yangwu College. How could Kang Xinmu be so arrogant in Donghuang Yangwu College? I'm Lord Dragon Emperor. Lord Dragon Emperor stared at Kang Xinmu fiercely and said with a cold snort, Kang Xinmu, I've heard that you're quite powerful. Since you're here today, I'd like to learn from you. At this time, Kang Xinmu glanced at him. Lord Dragon Emperor's momentum was strong, but in terms of real strength, it was just so for Kang Xinmu. If they were to fight, Kang Xinmu could kill Lord Dragon Emperor in 3 moves. But this time, he did not come to deal with the students of Donghuang Yangwu College. He just came to find someone. At this time, he heard someone calling his name. The familiar voice made him slightly happy, and he looked in the direction of the voice. Then he saw 3 familiar figures. They were Jiang Liuxue, Shi Yueying, and Shi Yutong, who were on the audience stand. The 3 girls had become more slender and elegant. They were originally 1 in a million beauties, but now they had become more mature and attractive. Their swaying and seductive bodies attracted the attention of many male students around them. They shouted at Kang Xinmu, obviously surprised. They did not expect that Kang Xinmu would appear in Donghuang Yangwu College. Since they came to Donghuang Yangwu College, they had heard a lot about Kang Xinmu. It was not until they came here that they learned that Kang Xinmu had been driven away by Xiaofan, the dean of Donghuang Yangwu College. They cared about Kang Xinmu, so of course, they would not listen to the rumors outside. Instead, they went around asking people. They found Yu Tianchang and the Fire Phoenix Princess, who had now joined Donghuang Yangwu College. They all told them the truth. Kang Xinmu did not betray them, but was forced to leave. This truth shocked the 3 girls a little. They knew that someone had wreaked havoc in Flame Dragon City. Kang Xinmu had saved Dragon Emperor Yan and became the hero of Dragon Emperor Yan's dynasty. It was said that Kang Xinmu had been the cause of that incident. However, they did not know the specific reason. After all, they were not strong enough, and their status was not high enough. It was naturally extremely difficult for them to find out the truth. Therefore, they found a way to join Donghuang Yangwu College. They did not join Donghuang Yangwu College through Dragon Emperor Yan. Instead, when they wanted to join, a teacher from Donghuang Yangwu College came looking for them and asked them to join. As for who that teacher was? Bian Feng. Chapter 46-29. After following Bian Feng to Donghuang Yangwu College, the 3 girls did not receive any unfair treatment. On the contrary, Bian Feng treated them very well and gave them priority in some cultivation resources, which made them feel flattered. After learning about Kang Xinmu's situation in Donghuang Yangwu College, the 3 girls became vigilant. They felt that Bian Feng did not seem to treat them so simply and that he must have some other motives. Could it be that he wanted to use them to deal with Kang Xinmu? After all, Kang Xinmu cared about the three of them. If they were to rise in Donghuang Yangwu College and bear the mark of Donghuang Yangwu College, what would Kang Xinmu do if they were to oppose Kang Xinmu in the future? He would probably be in a difficult position. Therefore, this was Bian Feng and Zhuo Xiaofeng's purpose. They wanted to recruit the three girls into Donghuang Yangwu College. At the same time, they wanted to give them the best treatment so that they could rise as quickly as possible. In this way, if they encountered each other in the college exchange in the future, it would definitely affect Kang Xinmu's state of mind. Zhuo Xiaofeng's idea was not bad. If he really encountered the three of them during the college exchange, Kang Xinmu might not use his full strength. Of course, there was a huge gap between the three of them and Kang Xinmu now, but what if their opponents were other students from Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Arts College? Would Kang Xinmu warn the students from Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Arts College in advance for their safety? In this way, there might be a barrier between Kang Xinmu and the students from Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Arts College and the higher-ups. All in all, Zhuo Xiaofeng was equivalent to holding the three of them hostage. This was an opportunity for the three of them, but in the future, they would be used by Zhuo Xiaofeng as tools and weapons to deal with Kang Xinmu. Now that Kang Xinmu appeared in front of them, they were a little surprised. After all, they had not seen Kang Xinmu for a long time. They felt uncomfortable staying in Donghuang Yangwu College. Why did Kang Xinmu come to Donghuang Yangwu College? At the moment, no one knew what Kang Xinmu wanted to do. But soon, Kang Xinmu bluntly stated his intention. He glanced at Lord Long and said, "I'm not interested in you. I'm just here to take my three friends away." Take him away? Where? Lord Long's face darkened. Of course, he knew who Kang Xinmu was talking about. Jiang Liuxue, Shi Yueying, and Shi Yutong were all good friends of Kang Xinmu before he joined Donghuang Yangwu College. Jiang Liuxue was even from Kang Xinmu's clan. Therefore, Lord Long suddenly became nervous. He was not worried that the three girls would be taken away. He was worried that Kang Xinmu did not seem to care about him at all. Would he lose to Kang Xinmu? Looking at the current situation, there would definitely be a battle between him and Kang Xinmu. And this battle would not be simple. It represented the battle of honor between Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial College and Donghuang Yangwu College. After all, Lord Long was the #1 student in Donghuang Yangwu College. Of course, Lord Long did not think that he would lose to Kang Xinmu. But there were too many rumors about Kang Xinmu. As for Kang Xinmu, even if he used all his energy to deal with him, he would not think it was too little. Of course, I'm taking them from Donghuang Yangwu College to Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial College. Kang Xinmu glanced at Lord Long, paused, and continued, "The dragon skills of Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial College are mostly for women to practice. It's more suitable for them. So, I'm taking them away." Hearing Kang Xinmu's words, there was a burst of laughter from the crowd. Lord Long laughed out loud. "Kang Xinmu, you really make people look down on you. The dragon skills of Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial College are mostly for women to practice. It's more suitable for them. So, you're not betraying Donghuang Yangwu College for this reason, are you? Kang Xinmu, you're not a man, but a woman." His words were full of sarcasm. Unfortunately, Kang Xinmu was not interested in him at all. He did not care how Donghuang Yangwu College slandered him. He just glanced at Lord Long and said, "People who don't know the truth are really sad. They will only become other people's tools." Yes, Lord Long was now almost Zhuo Xiaofeng's pawn. Although Zhuo Xiaofeng did not know it himself, Lord Long was now standing at the forefront, a tool to deal with Kang Xinmu. As for Kang Xinmu's words, Lord Long certainly did not understand what he meant. He sneered. Kang Xinmu, it's impossible for you to take away the students of Donghuang Yangwu College today. The three of them are my junior sisters. I will teach them personally. I will never let their talents down. Before he finished speaking, Jiang Liuxue suddenly stood up and calmly said to Kang Xinmu, "Okay, Kang Xinmu, I'll go with you." After knowing the truth about Kang Xinmu's betrayal, she felt uncomfortable staying in Donghuang Yangwu College. Now that Kang Xinmu had come to take her away, of course, she would not stay in Donghuang Yangwu College. Moreover, she came to Donghuang Yangwu College to find Kang Xinmu. If she did not stay with Kang Xinmu, what difference would it make? She did not know how strong Kang Xinmu was now, but she felt that Kang Xinmu definitely needed support. If she did not speak up, she was afraid that Kang Xinmu would be bullied to death. After all, Lord Long was the strongest student in Donghuang Yangwu College, the #1 student in the Tianshu district. His status and strength were definitely not something that Kang Xinmu could compare with, right? Shi Yueying and Shi Yutong also stood up and said to Jiang Liuxue, "We'll also go with Kang Xinmu." Chapter 46:30. When Kang Xinmu proposed this condition, the surrounding noise finally stopped for a moment. Then, a burst of excited voices came out. The students of Donghuang Yangwu College had long wanted to see Kang Xinmu's strength, and now they finally had the chance. Moreover, Kang Xinmu was going to challenge the top student of Donghuang Yangwu College in the Tianshu district, Lord Long. Just now, Lord Long had warmed up and fought with several team members, and he won all of them easily. His momentum was too strong and fierce. With such a powerful strength, it was absolutely impossible for anyone in this world who was not at the level of Dragon Emperor mentors to defeat Lord Long. Didn't you hear the two Dragon Emperor mentors say with satisfaction that Lord Long's strength was already close to theirs? Of course, these words were said because they admired Lord Long. Maybe it was a bit exaggerated, but it was definitely enough to prove how strong Lord Long was now. Therefore, Lord Long would win. Kang Xinmu would lose. Soon, someone even shouted out this slogan. In the audience stand, Jiang Liuxue and the other two girls were also a little nervous. They didn't expect that Donghuang Yangwu College would not let them go, and they even asked Kang Xinmu to take the initiative to challenge Lord Long. They knew Lord Long's strength. His performance just now was amazing, and he was simply invincible. But they didn't know much about Kang Xinmu. After all, Kang Xinmu hadn't appeared in public in the last year or two, and no one knew about their achievements on the battlefield of the 9 races. In the whole Dragon Martial continent, perhaps only the Dean of Emperor Shi Dragon Martial Academy, Yu Yaji, and the chief mentor, Ling Hu Dai, knew about Kang Xinmu's strength. The deans of the other 3 Dragon Martial Academies, of course, now knew that Kang Xinmu had been selected to cultivate in the macro world of the Dragon Gods, but they didn't know why he was selected. Killing Su San Luo? This was a top secret. It was impossible for the ancient Phoenix clan to reveal this. This was because Kang Xinmu still hadn't grown up yet. Once news of this leaked out, the powerhouses of the void human race would surely hunt him down. But that was not what the ancient Phoenix clan wanted. They wanted to wait for Kang Xinmu to completely rise. Once he grew up and possessed the ability to stand on his own, only then would they reveal this matter. At that time, Kang Xinmu and the void humans would become mortal enemies and they would slaughter each other. This would be extremely beneficial to the ancient Phoenix clan. Of course, at this stage, Kang Xinmu was too weak. Naturally, they couldn't expose this information. As for the Holy Land of 5 Extremes Dark Ice, no one knew why Kang Xinmu had been chosen. Only Emperor Shi and the Divine Dragon knew about this. At the same time, a few of the highest decision-makers of the Dragon Gods also knew about this. Therefore, it could be said that no one present knew Jiang Xinwu's strength. He had no idea that Kang Xinmu had already reached the level where he could kill Su San Luo. Although he had used Lingyun's protective ring, his strength was enough to prove it. Even if others had Lingyun's protective ring, they would only be able to withstand one blow from Su San Luo. To kill Su San Luo? That was simply wishful thinking. Therefore, Kang Xinmu's combat strength was basically above that of ordinary Dragon Martial Academy students. Su San Luo had killed a 7th-tier emperor before. That was an existence on the same level as the Dragon Emperor's mentor. And if Kang Xinmu could kill him, it meant that if Kang Xinmu used his full strength, he wouldn't be afraid of the Dragon Emperor's mentor. Of course, in public, he couldn't use a trick like the sky-imprisoning demon orb. The 3 top-notch desolate god demonic weapons of the demon god race could only be used when there was no one around to kill the opponent. However, although he couldn't use his full strength in public, and he wasn't a match for the Dragon Emperor's 7th-tier Dragon Emperor mentor, it was still a piece of cake for him to deal with Lord Long. As for Kang Xinmu, he had already felt Lord Long's aura and general strength. He wasn't afraid at all. But for Lord Long, when he heard Kang Xinmu take the initiative to challenge him, he was a little puzzled. This guy was meticulous and suspicious by nature. Now that Kang Xinmu took the initiative to challenge him, he couldn't help but be a little vigilant. Could it be that Kang Xinmu had some trump card that could defeat him? Lord Long was about to speak, but the 2 Dragon Emperor mentors behind him sent a telepathic message to his ear. Just accept his challenge, don't be afraid. Even if he wins, he won't be able to take anyone away. The words of the 2 Dragon Emperor mentors boosted Lord Long's confidence. What they meant was that even if he lost to Kang Xinmu, he wouldn't have to bear any responsibility. With the Dragon Emperor mentors around, how could they let Kang Xinmu take away the students of Donghuang Yangwu College? Absolutely not. Therefore, Lord Long snorted coldly and sneered at Kang Xinmu. You said it yourself. If you can win, I won't stop you. But if you lose, do you have to pay anything? Otherwise, why should I accept your challenge for no reason? If you can win, I'll die in front of you. How about that? Jiang Shunwu faintly said such a sentence. This sentence was full of unparalleled contempt. It was an announcement that you, Lord Long, were absolutely no match for me, Kang Xinmu. These words were arrogant and sharp enough. It made Lord Long tremble with anger. How dare you, Kang Xinmu, look down on me so much? Lord Long was furious and immediately said, Kang Xinmu, this is what you said. If you lose, I'll take your life today. Today, you're in our Donghuang Yangwu College, and no one can save you. As soon as he finished speaking, Lord Long's black dragon body suddenly swept toward Kang Xinmu. He didn't give Kang Xinmu any time to prepare and directly launched a fierce attack. Many students of Donghuang Yangwu College were also caught off guard. After all, they thought that the referee would call for the start of the competition, but Lord Long directly launched a surprise attack. Isn't this a little inappropriate? After all, it's a fair battle. Senior brother Long actually launched a sneak attack first. Humph, of course it's fair to deal with others. But to deal with a traitor like Kang Xinmu, what's the need for fairness? As long as we kill him, that will do. Yes, senior brother Long, go ahead. There's no need to talk about morality when dealing with a shameless person. Many people roared out loud, cheering for Lord Long. As Lord Long attacked Kang Xinmu, his dark talent instantly broke out and formed a black tornado, covering Kang Xinmu, who had not yet transformed into a dragon. Watch out, Kang Xinmu. Jiang Liuxue and the other 2 girls were a little scared. They were worried about Kang Xinmu, and at the same time, they felt that Lord Long's character was really terrible. But they didn't know, and neither did everyone present. Chapter 46-31. After all, Kang Xinmu mainly practiced the body-refining dragon martial arts. The opponent's sneak attack was certainly not strong enough. It was very likely that Lord Long's sneak attack had only exerted about 70% of his strength. But in order to attack Kong Shinmu quickly, he could not care so much. But for Kong Shinmu, who practiced the body-refining dragon martial arts, the last thing he was afraid of was a sneak attack. Everyone in the field saw the black tornado condensed by Lord Long and rolled toward Kong Shinmu. They seemed to see the scene of Kong Shinmu being destroyed by the black tornado. However, to their disappointment. Guard posture. Kong Shinmu instantly turned into a dragon and displayed the guard posture. The power of the divine dragon covered his whole body, and the majestic power rippled out. The black tornado condensed by Lord Long burst out in an instant and fell on Kong Shinmu. But it could not break through Kong Shinmu's defense. Even Kong Shinmu was not hurt at all. The black dragon scales all over his body were perfect and smooth, shining with a black luster. They were like a steel fortress, completely blocking Lord Long's black tornado. Lord Long's black tornado was after all an advanced original source dragon martial art, and he had practiced it to the saint level. He had put a lot of effort into it. Unfortunately, for Lord Long, even a piece of rising dragon marrow was a very precious resource. However, for Kong Shinmu, the rising dragon marrow was at his fingertips. In contrast, the gap between the cultivation resources available to the two sides was obvious. How could Lord Long fight with Kong Shinmu when there was a gap between cultivation resources and cultivation talents? When the void crack first appeared, Lord Long was already a student of the Fecta area. According to reason, many students of the Fecta area should have broken through to the 5th level of the Dragon Emperor and become mentors of the Dragon Emperor. Lord Long was still just a student. He had been stuck at the 4th level of Dragon Emperor for a long time, unable to break through. Was it because he didn't want to break through? Did he have to be the number 1 student in the Heaven Center district? No, it was just that he was stuck, unable to break through. His cultivation level was still rising, but the grade of the divine dragon blood essence had not risen for a long time. Lord Long had been stuck at the 4th level of Dragon Emperor for nearly a year. During the last Academy tournament, he was already at the 4th level of the Dragon Emperor. But in the past year, he had been constantly accumulating and absorbing the Dragon Mark's energy of heaven and earth treasures. Until now, there was still no sign of a breakthrough. This made Lord Long very uncomfortable. Was he going to be stuck at the 4th level of the Dragon Emperor? If he wanted to break through to the 5th level of the Dragon Emperor, would he encounter a bottleneck? The possibility of this was quite high. Therefore, compared with Kong Shinmu, he really couldn't do anything to Kong Shinmu. His black tornado could not hurt Kong Shinmu at all, which made Lord Long's face change. Then there was a burst of black light on his body, and countless black lines spread out from his divine dragon body. These black lines of light were a dragon weapon that had been compatible with him for a long time. It was a heaven-grade dragon weapon, which could give full play to its power. Under the eruption of these black lines of light, Lord Long once again condensed a black tornado. This storm was obviously much more violent than the previous one, at least 3 times stronger than the previous one. This made Kong Shinmu feel some pressure. Kong Shinmu's face darkened slightly, but the power of the divine dragon tyrant body outside his black dragon body did not waver at all. It still covered his body and protected him. At the same time, the devouring power also spread out and began to devour all the power around him. The power of the tornado just now was swallowed by Kong Shinmu, which made Kong Shinmu store the power of his dragon martial technique in his body. At the same time, the whole black dragon body had a stronger resistance to the opponent's power. The opponent's black tornado was 3 times stronger than before. It didn't matter. Kong Shinmu's resistance to the opponent's power was also 3 times stronger. Kong Shinmu had always been playing defensive counterattack, so he did not make a move at will, but waited for the opponent to attack. When the opponent's black tornado attacked once again, Jiang Shenwu's devouring power turned into a black curtain and met it head-on. Both sides collided in mid-air, causing waves of energy ripples to spread out in all directions. Part of the opponent's power broke through the devouring power barrier and fell directly on Kang Shinmu's dragon body. However, now the opponent's power had been devoured by half. How could it still hurt Kang Shinmu? The power of the black tornado fell on Kang Shinmu's black dragon body and was directly cut open, flowing in all directions. And Kang Shinmu's devouring power chased after the power of the black tornado and swallowed it into his body. His black dragon body was still unscathed. Seeing this scene, Lord Long could not believe his eyes. This Kang Shinmu actually completely blocked his attack, and did not even suffer a slight injury. This was too terrifying. Lord Long had heard that Kang Shinmu's defense was very strong, but now he knew that it was not just strong. Even dozens of strong were not enough to describe Kang Shinmu's terrible defense. And the point was that Lord Long felt that Kang Shinmu did not use any defensive dragon skills, but only used a strange power to offset half of his offensive power, and the rest of the power fell on Kang Shinmu, unable to hurt Kang Shinmu. Of course, he did not know that half of his offensive power was directly devoured by Kang Shinmu. Seeing that his second attack did not have any effect, Lord Long's face became really gloomy. Then he wanted to fully exert the power of his heaven-grade dragon weapon, but before he could do so, Kang Shinmu's counterattack arrived. Kang Shinmu had just devoured his power, and now it directly burst out, condensing into a black tornado, and rushed towards Lord Long. Seeing this, Lord Long almost lost his ability to think. But his precious fighting experience made him react immediately. With a roar, he released an Earth-level Holy Dragon weapon. This Earth-grade Holy Dragon weapon was his defensive dragon weapon, which was given to them in advance by Donghuang Yangwu College, so that they could set foot on the battlefield of the 9 races. Chapter 46-32. Lord Long's defensive ability was not weak either. Of course, compared with Kang Shinmu, it was not enough. His strongest blow had been swallowed by Kang Shinmu. At this moment, when he fought back, he displayed his strongest defense, but he could not resist it. The black tornado bombarded his black protective barrier, causing cracks to appear on it. This situation made Lord Long's face extremely ugly. He was now completely sure that the black tornado Kang Shinmu displayed was the advanced dragon martial skill that he had cultivated, and it was also the exclusive advanced dragon martial skill of Donghuang Yangwu College. But how could Kang Shinmu cultivate it? Who leaked the cultivation secret manual to the outside world? Or did Kang Shinmu learn this dragon martial skill before he left Donghuang Yangwu College? No matter which possibility it was, the most important thing was that Lord Long felt that the power contained in Kang Shinmu's attack was similar to his talent. How could this be possible? Could it be that Jiang Shenwu had the same innate ability as him? No, absolutely impossible. This was the talent of counterattack. Lord Long immediately thought of some rumors about Kang Shinmu. It was said that Kang Shinmu had an extremely powerful talent of counterattack. He could swallow anyone's power and then fight back with the same method. Now it seemed that it was true. Lord Long's black protective barrier withstood the black tornado from Kang Shinmu. The cracks on it began to increase, and after 3 breaths, the whole protective barrier was completely shattered. However, at the same time, Kang Shinmu's attack seemed to be coming to an end. The power of the black tornado had been worn out by the protective barrier. However, right after that, Jiang Shenwu calmly unleashed an offensive dragon martial technique that truly belonged to him. Wind and Snow Dragon Stone. The snowstorm raged. Blizzard Blast was a primary Holy Spirit dragon martial technique, which was much more powerful than Lord Long's black tornado. With the help of Kang Shinmu's devouring ability, no matter what Lord Long did, his power would be devoured by the blizzard. The 108 battle runes on the Snow Wind Dragon Stone all condensed their full power. This Snow Wind Dragon Stone had been with Kang Shinmu for a long time, and he could already unleash 90% of its power. Therefore, when Jiang Shenwu activated the Blizzard Dragon Patterned Stone, the 108 offensive battle runes could increase his attack power by more than 2 times. The violent wind and snow condensed into a sky full of snow, covering the entire central square. Just now, it was a pitch-black tornado, and now, it was a black-colored snowstorm. This scene caused the spectating students of the Eastern Emperor Dragon Martial Academy to be shocked. How could Kang Shinmu's dragon martial skill be so heterogeneous? It seemed that there were all kinds of attributes. Regarding Kang Shinmu's combat power, those who were stronger should have heard of the existence of the counterattack talent, but most of the students of Donghuang Yangwu College could not even reach Kaiyang District, let alone Yuheng District. They had just joined Donghuang Yangwu College not long ago. They only heard that Kang Shinmu was a traitor who betrayed Donghuang Yangwu College. But they did not know what specific deeds Kang Shinmu had done. So now seeing Kang Shinmu display 2 completely different skills, and one of them was very similar to Lord Long's, they could not help but tremble. Some of them thought that Kang Shinmu was really a traitor who left Donghuang Yangwu College. Otherwise, how could he have the same advanced dragon martial skill as Lord Long? For these students, even if it was just an advanced dragon martial skill, it was already the top dragon martial skill, which could only be obtained after a lot of hard work and countless efforts. As for the Holy Spirit dragon martial skill, they really did not know much about it. After all, even Lord Long, the number 1 in the Divine Center District, had not succeeded in practicing one move of the Holy Spirit dragon martial skill. Kang Shinmu and the others all exchanged for advanced Holy Spirit dragon martial skills, but even Kang Shinmu had so far only practiced the first level of the 9th extreme way of Roaring Dragon martial skill. It would take a long time for him to really put the Holy Spirit dragon martial skill into use in a real battle. In the snowstorm, Lord Long's protective barrier could not hold on at all. The protective barrier that he had just condensed didn't even last for 3 breaths of time in the snowstorm before it completely shattered. Then, his entire divine dragon body was covered by the snowstorm. In the snowstorm, his black dragon body that hadn't cultivated any body refinement dragon martial techniques wouldn't be able to last long at all before it shattered into pieces. I give up. Lord Long clenched his teeth and shouted unwillingly. He really did not expect that he would really lose to Kang Shinmu. He was full of confidence in himself. Although he was also a little in awe of Kang Shinmu, he always felt that Kang Shinmu could not be his opponent. But now, he realized that there was indeed a gap between him and Kang Shinmu. Kang Shinmu's Snow Wind Dragon Stone was an Earth-level Holy Spirit Dragon weapon, and his defense was also an Earth-level Holy Spirit Dragon weapon. But Kang Shinmu's Snow Wind Dragon Stone could break through his defense. Obviously, it was Kang Shinmu's own strength that was too strong. Holy Spirit Dragon weapons could only enhance the strength of dragon warriors, but they did not contain natural power. Therefore, in the case of the same level of Holy Spirit Dragon weapons, it must be because Kang Shinmu's own strength crushed Lord Long, so that Lord Long could not resist the attack of Kang Shinmu. Chapter 46-33. Kang Shinmu was too strong. Even at this moment, the image of Kang Shinmu soaring in the sky as a black dragon was deeply engraved in everyone's mind. Jiang Liuxue and Shi Yueying did not expect Kang Shinmu to be Lord Long's opponent. Not only did he defeat Lord Long, but he also forced Lord Long to admit defeat. It had to be said that Kang Shinmu's combat ability was too strong. Was this Kang Shinmu's strength? Even the top student of Donghuang Yangwu College was no match for Kang Shinmu. So what was Kang Shinmu's current strength in Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Arts Academy? No matter what Kang Xinmu's ranking in Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Arts Academy was, today's battle with Lord Long had shown that his strength had reached a very high level. Many people even felt that Kang Xinmu did not use his full strength at all. Or to put it in other words, for Kang Xinmu, Lord Long was not a threat at all. Even if Kang Xinmu was not hurt at all, he was still far from Kang Xinmu's limit. For a guy like Lord Long, even if two of him attacked Kang Xinmu at the same time, Kang Xinmu would not be afraid. Of course, in that case, he would also be in some trouble. After all, if two opponents of this level attacked Kang Xinmu at the same time, Kang Xinmu's defense would not be solid, and it would definitely be broken by the opponent. However, he could still use the wind shadow flowing flash at the critical moment. He had many tricks up his sleeve, and he could not only fight head-on with his opponent. Unfortunately, with Lord Long's strength, he was not qualified to force Kang Xinmu to use other tricks. At this moment, Lord Long had no choice but to admit defeat. Kang Xinmu did not have a trace of arrogance on his face. For him, his vision was no longer on the 4 Dragon Martial Arts Academies in the Dragon Martial Arts continent. Of course, Kang Xinmu would not forget his roots. He knew very well that he could rise because he joined the Dragon Martial Arts Academy. Even for Donghuang Yangwu College and the Dragon of Calamity, Kang Xinmu had no objection. After all, without Donghuang Yangwu College, he might not have the opportunity to go to Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Arts Academy and obtain so many cultivation resources, which gave him the strength he had today. Xiaofan was the only one who disagreed with Jiang Shenwu. Of course, apart from Xiaofan, there were also some Dragon Emperor mentors under Xiaofan, such as Bian Feng and Chou Jingyun. These lackeys who stood on Xiaofang's side were also very annoying to Kang Xinmu. If there was a chance, he would definitely kill them. Unfortunately, if Kang Xinmu met Bian Feng and Chou Jingyun now, it was very likely that he would not be a match for them. After all, they both had the Divine Dragon's Essence blood of level 7 of the Dragon Emperor. This level of Divine Dragon's Essence blood was 4 levels stronger than Kang Xinmu's, which could not be made up by other means. Kang Xinmu could deal with the Dragon Emperor's Essence blood of level 6, but if it was the Dragon Emperor's Essence blood of level 7, he would have to risk his life, and he might not be able to defeat it. Of course, Kang Xinmu knew that there were strong and weak dragon warriors in different cultivation realms, and their strengths were all different. If it was the weakest of the Dragon Emperor's Essence blood of level 7, Kang Xinmu could indeed try to fight against it now. Since Lord Long had admitted defeat, Kang Xinmu did not chase after him. He withdrew the power of the snow storm and swallowed it all into his body to store. Then, Kang Xinmu raised his head, looked at Lord Long, and asked faintly, "Now, can I take my friends and leave?" If the other party wanted to stop him, no matter what means, Kang Xinmu would take it. But if the other party did not stop him, it would naturally be the best. Unfortunately, for Donghuang Yangwu College, if Kang Xinmu really took away the 3 of them today, it would be too embarrassing. So today, no matter what, Donghuang Yangwu College would not let them go so easily. Faced with Kang Xinmu's question, Lord Long removed his dragon form and returned to his human form. He smiled and said, "Kang Xinmu, although you have defeated me, it is still impossible for you to take away our junior sister from Donghuang Yangwu College. I only said that if I lose to you, I will not stop you. But, did I say that other people from Donghuang Yangwu College will not stop you?" At this moment, the 2 Dragon Emperor mentors who had been watching the battle stood out. One of the Dragon Emperor mentors looked at Kang Xinmu and said faintly, "In our Donghuang Yangwu College, Lord Long may not be the strongest. Of course, since you have defeated Lord Long, you are indeed the top among the students. Today, I will give you another chance. As long as you can defeat your next opponent, you can take them away. Your opponent is Zhu Wudi, Qin Xiaoya, you 2 come out. Although you did not fight with Lord Long in the last college competition, your strength should not be too far from his. You two join forces and fight with Kang Xinmu. Don't disgrace our Donghuang Yangwu College." As soon as these words came out, Kang Xinmu suddenly narrowed his eyes. As for Qin Xiaoya and Zhu Wudi, who were sitting in the spectator seats, their faces stiffened. They had just been praising Kang Xinmu's strength for being much stronger than before, but they did not expect that the Dragon Emperor mentors would burn the fire on them. Let them join forces and fight with Kang Xinmu? Who were they looking down on? No matter what, they did not have to fight two against one and bully others, right? But, if they really wanted to fight with Kang Xinmu alone, they did not think it was appropriate, because they were certainly no match for Kang Xinmu. Chapter 46-34. No one had expected Qin Xiaoya to say something like that. If Kang Xinmu won against her and Zhu Wudi, they would still help Kang Xinmu take his friends away. That was too much. Qin Xiaoya and Zhu Wudi were also well-known figures in Donghuang Yangwu College. Any student in the Divine Center district was the same, and their names would be known throughout the entire student body. Therefore, Qin Xiaoya and Zhu Wudi also had many fans. Some people had heard that Qin Xiaoya admired Kang Xinmu, and that Zhu Wudi and Kang Xinmu were friends. However, no one had expected Qin Xiaoya to say something like that, to help Kang Xinmu send the students of Donghuang Yangwu College to other dragon martial colleges. Crazy, too crazy. Everyone looked at Qin Xiaoya in shock, including the two Dragon Emperor mentors. They had not expected this at all. More importantly, when Qin Xiaoya said this, not only did Zhu Wudi not object at all, but he looked as if it was only natural, which made everyone feel like they were struck by lightning. That was too much. Were Qin Xiaoya and Zhu Wudi trying to rebel? The two Dragon Emperor mentors' faces darkened. Qin Xiaoya. Zhu Wudi. Do you not want to stay in Donghuang Yangwu College anymore? If that's the case, we'll immediately ask the dean to let you leave Donghuang Yangwu College and leave Donghuang College. Their words clearly indicated that they wanted to let Xiaofan know about today's incident. Unfortunately, Qin Xiaoya and Zhu Wudi did not care at all. They laughed coldly. Don't think we don't know what the dean is thinking. If the two of us are kicked out, our mentors will definitely not stand by and watch. I'm afraid they will also leave Donghuang Yangwu College. Also, if our mentors leave, do you think our students will still stay in Donghuang Yangwu College? The two Dragon Emperor mentors' faces darkened when they heard this. Indeed. Qin Xiaoya and Zhu Wudi represented many things. Among them, Qin Xiaoya was Chu Yueqiang's student. This was something Kang Xinmu found out later. Zhu Wudi's teacher was Tan Shouzhua. The relationship between them was similar to that between Kang Xinmu and Chu Yi. Tan Shouzhua and Chu Yueqiang were not ordinary Dragon Emperor mentors in Donghuang Yangwu College. They were among the top few, and their names were on the Dragon Emperor list. How could an ordinary Dragon Emperor compare? Moreover, it was said that these two mentors were very protective. With their talents, both of them had been in contact with the existence of the Dragon God clan's great world, so they had directly faced strong people at the level of the Supreme Divine Dragon. It was not easy for Xiaofan to deal with these two mentors. If these two mentors really left Donghuang Yangwu College together, Xiaofan would definitely be in trouble. This was because the students from Donghuang Yangwu College would serve the Dragon of Calamity in the future, and those from Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Arts Academy would serve Emperor Shi Mystical Dragon. Although they were all from the Dragon God clan, the Supreme Divine Dragon they served was different. Their treatment would also be different, and it would affect the balance between the various Supreme Divine Dragons. Originally, Emperor Shi Mystical Dragon and the Dragon of Calamity in the Clear Sky were similar in strength. However, if Chu Yueqiang and Tan Shouzhua really left Donghuang Yangwu College and joined Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Arts Academy, then Emperor Shi mystical dragon's power would be stronger than the dragon of calamity in the clear sky. It might not be obvious in a short period of time. However, there were definitely many students who left with these two mentors. These were the geniuses among the geniuses of Donghuang Yangwu College. Chapter 46-35. The moment Kong Xinmu transformed into a dragon, Qin Xiaoya and Zhu Wudi had already attacked Kong Xinmu. Qin Xiaoya's strength was definitely not weak. At this moment, a light blue whirlwind whistled, containing countless sword and saber lights condensed from the power of reincarnation. This light blue whirlwind containing countless sword and saber lights whistled. In an instant, it enveloped Kong Xinmu's entire divine dragon body. The sword and saber lights swept across and enveloped Kong Xinmu. Guardian Stance. Kong Xinmu immediately broke out the defensive means of the Dragon Tyrant Body technique. A thick layer of Dragon Tyrant Body technique covered his whole body. At the same time, Zhu Wudi's attack came from another direction. Zhu Wudi's divine dragon essence blood was the mystic moon wind dragon. Its attack was extremely fast, almost reaching first even though it was launched later. The power of the whirlwind was like rolling waves, roaring and crashing down on Kong Xinmu. Qin Xiaoya and Zhu Wudi's joint attack alone was far more powerful than the one Lord Long had just displayed. But now, Kong Xinmu's whole body was protected by the Dragon Tyrant Body technique. When the power of the two bombarded Kong Xinmu felt as if his divine dragon body was being torn apart. Their joint attack was very fierce. Kong Xinmu's Dragon Tyrant Body technique was directly torn apart. Then, the combined power of the two destroyed some of the dragon scales on Kong Xinmu's body, crushing them into pieces. Dragon blood flew out like a whirlwind, as if Kong Xinmu had been seriously injured. This scene made all the students of Donghuang Yangwu College exclaim. Too strong. Just now, Lord Long could not penetrate the same defense and break Kong Xinmu's power of protection. But now, Zhu Wudi and Qin Xiaoya had directly broken through Kong Xinmu's defense. The primary Holy Dragon technique has been cultivated to the dragon level. Not bad. Kong Xinmu's expression changed slightly. He felt the power of the two. They had actually cultivated the primary Holy Dragon technique to the dragon level. This was far more powerful than a high-grade origin dragon martial skill that was only cultivated to the heaven grade. Even if a high-grade origin dragon martial skill was cultivated to the saint grade, or even the extreme grade, it might not be able to reach the power of these two moves. This was the Holy Dragon technique, a dragon technique that truly matched the Dragon Emperor's dragon essence blood. The original source dragon technique, in the macro world of the dragon gods, was actually only the dragon technique cultivated by the Dragon King. In comparison, it was much weaker. The power that erupted from the two of them was somewhat difficult for Jiang Shenwu to withstand. At the very least, it would be somewhat difficult for him to withstand it if he only relied on the divine dragon tyrant body art. However, the combined attacks of the two of them did not cause Jiang Shenwu any serious injuries. Although the dragon blood flew out, it was far from the injuries that Kong Xinmu suffered in a real fight. Kong Xinmu had been cut into 3 pieces in a real fight. Even if he was cut into 3 pieces, he could find a way to win in a desperate situation, let alone in this situation. Devouring power. Kong Xinmu's devouring power suddenly burst out, covering his whole body. It was as if endless black smoke spread out from his body, swallowing all the power of the mystic moon and heavenly wind that enveloped him into his own body. Qin Xiaoya's power was also directly devoured by Kong Xinmu. In the end, he did not suffer any injuries, and directly broke through the 2 attacks of his opponents. However, since Qin Xiaoya and Zhu Wudi were friends with Kong Xinmu, they must have some understanding of Kong Xinmu. They knew that Kong Xinmu's strength was not in defense, but in the counterattack after defense. Therefore, they did not intend to give Kang Xinmu any more chances. Although they still wanted to help Kang Xinmu today, if they could occasionally join forces and defeat Kang Xinmu, it would be a real milestone for their cultivation. They knew that if they defeated Kang Xinmu, they would move forward. But if they lost to Kang Xinmu, their mentality would not be affected too much. In any case, they already felt that they were no match for Kang Xinmu. In other words, they felt that they could not defeat Kang Xinmu, but as long as there was a hope of winning, they would definitely want to win. This would absolutely have a big impact on their cultivation. Ultimate kill, Fangs of the Absolute Wind. Zhu Wudi directly used another low-level Holy Spirit Dragon martial technique he cultivated, and also cultivated it to the level of dragon. It was obvious that he had spent a lot of effort on this dragon martial technique. At the same time, he also released a dragon weapon, an Earth-level Holy Spirit Dragon weapon. This Earth-level Holy Spirit Dragon weapon was like a mirror, and the whirlwind energy of his Absolute Wind Fangs of the Absolute Wind was absorbed by this mirror. Immediately after, the whirlwind energy exploded, becoming more than 3 times stronger than before. However, this Absolute Wind Fangs of the Absolute Wind wasn't targeted at Kang Xinmu, because it was not an attack dragon martial technique. After the Wind Fangs of the Absolute Wind Fangs were strengthened by the Earth-level Holy Spirit Dragon weapon mirror, they directly enveloped Qin Xiaoya's body. Under the power of the Absolute Wind Fangs of the Absolute Wind Fangs, Qin Xiaoya's aura instantly rose. Almost in an instant, the aura on Qin Xiaoya made Kang Xinmu feel a sense of danger. This kind of danger was almost equivalent to when he faced the Talisman Water Tribe woman, a danger that could kill him. Amazing! Not waiting for Kang Xinmu to sigh, not waiting for Kang Xinmu to make a move, Qin Xiaoya's next dragon martial technique exploded. She also used an Earth-level Holy Spirit Dragon weapon, which showed that Qin Xiaoya and her team had gained a lot during this period of time. Even if it was not as much as Kang Xinmu's team, it was still much more than Lord Long's team. And this was definitely something that they had exchanged their lives for. Kang Xinmu's team had the help of the hidden Black Dragon Stone, which was why they could hunt their opponents in a relatively stable manner in the past 6 months. But Qin Xiaoya and Zhu Wudi did not have something like the hidden Black Dragon Stone. The cultivation resources they obtained were all exchanged for Guardian Points. And Guardian Points could only be obtained by fighting on the battlefield. Their Holy Spirit Dragon martial technique and Holy Spirit Dragon weapon were exchanged during this period of time. Chapter 46-36. In Qin Xiaoya's team, other than Zhu Wudi, there was also Chu Yi, Luo Han, and Su Qin. Kang Xinmu also saw them in the spectator stands below. Although they had not transformed into dragons, Kang Xinmu could still see that they had improved a lot compared to before. Although they could not compare to Xiao Yuhua and the other 3, they were much ahead of the ordinary students of the Dragon Martial Academy. Even if their strength had not reached the peak, their improvement speed was already much faster than the others. The elementary divine dragon technique that Qin Xiaoya used was actually not very powerful. At most, it could injure Kang Xinmu a little. However, this move of hers had been enhanced by Zhu Wudi's dragon technique. The power of the Absolute Wind Fangs was enhanced by the dragon weapon and shot straight out of the mirror, enveloping Qin Xiaoya's body. This increased the power of her next dragon technique by at least 3 times. Moreover, Qin Xiaoya herself had used an Earth-grade divine dragon weapon. The combined effect was simply terrifying. It was no wonder that their team could survive on the battlefield until now without something like the Black Concealing Dragon Stone. Not only that, they could repeatedly kill their opponents and hunt for Guardian Points to improve themselves. Now that Zhu Wudi and Qin Xiaoya were working together, Kang Xinmu felt threatened. It was clear that their combined strength was no less than that of the Talisman Shui woman he had seen earlier. Moreover, if the 2 of them were the main fighting force, the other members of the team must have also cultivated some supplementary dragon techniques. For example, a movement-type dragon technique could increase the speed of the entire team, or they could directly travel through the void. Of course, the method of traveling through the void was more difficult to comprehend, but it did not exclude the possibility that they had talent for it. Another example was a dragon technique that weakened the opponent's curse, or a probing or concealment-type dragon technique. This was a complete team. This was also the reason why Lin Xuang could join the Lord Dragon team. Lin Xuang's probing ability was not bad. Unfortunately, the Lord Dragon team did not have a top fighting force. That was the combination of Kong Xinmu's teams Kong Xinmu and Qin Xiaoye's teams Zhu Wudi. In Lord Dragon's team, no one could stand alone. When they encountered real danger, they had no way to solve it. Therefore, on the battlefield, Lord Long's team was very cautious. They were not as arrogant and domineering as Kong Xinmu's team. Of course, they could not cooperate as well as Qin Xiaoye's team. At this moment, as Qin Xiaoye's dragon breath gushed towards Kong Xinmu, he could feel the destructive aura contained within it. It was a type of fire attribute energy, a fire attribute dragon martial technique. The flames swept along the way, and it was as if even the void was burned to ashes by them. Wind Snow Dragon Vein Stone. At this moment, Kong Xinmu had no choice but to activate the Blizzard Dragon Stone again. A storm of ice and snow erupted from his divine dragon body, enveloping his surroundings and turning them into a world of ice and snow. The billowing dragon breath and destructive flames surged over, directly melting the ice and snow in one direction, and then fell on Kong Xinmu's divine dragon body. This speed was too fast. Kong Xinmu did not even have time to use the sunset shadow. Or it could be said that Kong Xinmu barely managed to use the sunset shadow after the Blizzard Dragon Stone resisted the opponent for a moment. But at this moment, Kong Xinmu had been burned by the opponent's flame breath, and one side of his body had been completely burnt to a crisp. If it weren't for the blade shadow of the rosy glow that was fast enough, his entire black dragon body would have been burned into two. It was conceivable that the combined strength of Qin Xiaoye and Zhu Wudi far exceeded that of Lord Long. If Qin Xiaoye's team and Lord Long's team fought each other, perhaps Lord Long's team would not be their match. This was a real elite team. One could imagine how great a loss it would be for Donghuang Yangwu College if all of them withdrew from Donghuang Yangwu College. To the Clear Sky Calamity Dragon, losing so many talented and well-coordinated elite dragon martial artist students was an immeasurable loss. Zhuo Xiaofan really could not do anything to the two mentors, Chu Yueqiang and Tan Shouzhua. Especially in the current environment where the 9 major races were invading, Zhuo Xiaofan did not dare to act recklessly. Kong Xinmu was seriously injured. His whole body seemed to be burned by flames, and hot air constantly came from the burns. The Dark Dragon Inferno spell continuously healed his injuries, but he discovered that the rate of recovery was very slow. Qin Xiaoye's dragon martial technique was too powerful. It was a fire dragon's breath attack, and it made it so that the injuries suffered by the opponent could not quickly recover. Kong Xinmu felt that even if he could devour the Devil Core, the power of the Devil Core could not be quickly transformed into life energy. This was the domineering part of Qin Xiaoye's technique. You actually dodged it. Kong Xinmu, you're so fast. Qin Xiaoye saw that Kong Xinmu had only suffered a little injury before he quickly dodged. She was fascinated by his method of traveling through the void. Too powerful. This was definitely not because of his speed, but because Kong Xinmu had directly traveled through the void. This kind of method related to the void was extremely difficult for students below the level of Mentor Dragon Emperor to comprehend and understand. Therefore, in Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Academy, not many people practiced the Sunset Glow Flash, mainly because it was too difficult to practice. Of course, if one could reach the level of Mentor Dragon Emperor, which was the level of the Divine Dragon's blood essence of the 5th level of the Dragon Emperor's Divine Dragon Inheritance, then the source of life would be further improved, and the understanding of space would be greatly enhanced. But before that, there was almost no one who could cultivate the sunset glow flash to the high level. Even Jiang Shenwu was only able to reach his current level of attainment in the Sun Shadow Flowing Sunglow Flash by devouring Ling Hu Dai, Er's ultimate Saint Realm Sun Shadow Flowing Sunglow Flash. Otherwise, before he started cultivating the Sun Shadow Flowing Sunglow Flash, his speed would be slow, and the distance he could traverse was too short. Most importantly, he could not use it continuously. In an intense battle, it would be useless. It could only be used once, and could not be used multiple times. At most, it could save his life once. Of course, now that Kang Xinmu had reached a higher level, his understanding of the sunset glow flash far exceeded that of his peers. He was even confident that even in the Dragon God's great world, he would not be too far behind other dragon martial artists. After all, he had assisted in cultivating the power of void. The two of them had seen the opportunity early, and when the defensive barrier was about to be broken, they had already realized that something was wrong, so they quickly retreated. This move of Kang Xinmu attacked two people at the same time. It was incomparably fast and frightening. Qin Xiaoya and Zhu Wudi were directly injured by the two light explosions. Although they were not seriously injured, they were momentarily dizzy. It was impossible for them to continue fighting in this state. In other words, if they were on the battlefield, they would basically have lost most of their combat ability after suffering such an attack. If they were facing an enemy, they would most likely die. Of course, Kang Xinmu would not kill them. Seeing that they were shaken by the 9 layers of the ultimate Dao Hui Dragon Blast, he stopped. Not only did the 9 layers of the ultimate Dao Hui Dragon Blast have extremely strong destructive power, but it also had a shocking effect on the enemy. If the difference in strength between the two sides was relatively large, one move could directly shock the opponent to death. Unfortunately, Qin Xiaoya and Zhu Wudi were not at a disadvantage in terms of cultivation level and the essence of the divine dragon inheritance to Kang Xinmu, so they were not shaken too badly and quickly regained consciousness. This move, it's a high-grade Holy Spirit Dragon technique. The two Dragon Emperor mentors who were watching the battle from the side stared at the 9 layers of the ultimate Dao Hui Dragon Blast that Kang Xinmu had displayed. The Black Dragon Breath light wave erupted, its aura shaking the entire place, allowing the two Dragon Emperor mentors to immediately see the level of Kang Xinmu's dragon technique. This is too strong. He actually cultivated a high-grade Holy Spirit Dragon technique? It must be known that this level of dragon martial skill was something that even many top-notch Dragon Emperor instructors might not possess. For example, Chu Yueqiang, Tan Shouzhua and the others were already top-notch Dragon Emperor instructors. Right now, the dragon martial skill that they mainly cultivated was the intermediate Divine Spirit Dragon martial skill. There was no advanced Divine Spirit Dragon martial skill to cultivate. This was because the powerhouses at the level of the Dragon Emperor mentors did not have a stage in the battlefield of the 9 major races, nor did they have a place to obtain guardian points. Naturally, they were not as comfortable as Kang Xinmu and the others. If the two Dragon Emperor mentors knew that the 5 members of Kang Xinmu's team had already cultivated a high-grade Holy Spirit Dragon technique, they were afraid that they would die of anger. It was really infuriating to compare oneself with others. If they knew the truth, it would be impossible for them not to die of anger. As for the surrounding students of Donghuang Yangwu College, few of them could recognize the level of the dragon technique that Kang Xinmu had displayed. They could only see that Kang Xinmu was very strong, and that he had shocked and injured Qin Xiaoya and Zhu Wudi with just one move. This was an extremely strong move. If Kang Xinmu had used this move to deal with Lord Long just now, no one could say for sure whether Lord Long would still be alive or not. Just now, Qin Xiaoya and Zhu Wudi had suffered the impact of Kang Xinmu's Black Dragon Breath light explosion together, but their defense barrier had been directly shattered, and their whole person fell into a state of dizziness. And just now, Lord Long was alone. If he had to bear such an attack from Kang Xinmu alone, he would probably be dead by now. When Kang Xinmu used the 9th Extreme Dao Dragon Blast to shock Qin Xiaoya and Zhu Wudi back, the whole square was almost completely silent. Although many of the students present did not know the specific strength of Qin Xiaoya and Zhu Wudi, the move that Zhu Wudi had just performed with Qin Xiaoya's assistance was already powerful enough to crush Lord Long's level. Now, Kang Xinmu had unexpectedly defeated both of them once again. It was conceivable that in front of Kang Xinmu, Lord Long's strength was really not enough. The gap was too big. Chapter 46-38. Kang Xinmu's 9 ultimate dragon explosion was like a thunderclap, shaking the whole Donghuang Yangwu College. How rare and difficult was it to cultivate a high-grade divine spirit dragon martial skill? Kang Xinmu had succeeded in cultivating it. Although this move was not particularly strong and did not have overwhelming combat power, even when facing Qin Xiaoya and Zhu Wudi, they still had time to retreat and save their lives, but it was already strong enough. It should be noted that the combat power shown by Qin Xiaoya and Zhu Wudi was far beyond Lord Long's level. Kang Xinmu could even defeat them easily, which showed that Kang Xinmu's combat power was far beyond the overall combat power of the students of Donghuang Yangwu College. Some people even suspected that the old students who had just broken through to the level of Dragon Emperor were no match for Kang Xinmu. They didn't know, after reaching the level of Dragon Emperor, they would be sent to the macro world of dragon gods to cultivate for the first year. This year was to help them understand this world and provide some new cultivation resources. So now, Yu Tianchang, Feng Ligei, Gu Yusheng, Emperor Qin, and other people who had just become Dragon Emperor's mentors rarely appeared in the Dragon Martial Continent or the Dragon Martial Fortress. Some of them would not return to the Dragon Martial Continent. But some people would still come back because the Dragon Martial Continent would soon need them. On the battlefield of the 9 clans, strong people at the level of Dragon Emperor's mentors would soon be allowed to set foot on it. At that time, it would be a real life and death moment. Of course, this was for many people. Kang Xinmu already knew that the high-level leaders of the dragon gods had reached an agreement with the 9 clans. Although the battlefield would continue, no matter what the final result was, the Dragon Martial Continent would not be enslaved. It would only be used as a training ground. For the dragon gods, there were indeed many good seedlings in the Dragon Martial Continent. If they trained well, it would be good for the dragon gods as a whole in the future. Many people in the upper echelons were looking forward to the emergence of more genius dragon martial artists in the Martial Dragon Continent. This year, there were many dragon warriors who had broken through to the 5th level of the Dragon Emperor, and they were all sent to the dragon gods to study and cultivate. These dragon warriors were geniuses in the Dragon Martial Continent, but in the dragon gods' big world, most of them could only be regarded as ordinary, and only a few of them could be regarded as real geniuses. For example, Yu Tianchang, Feng Ligei, Gu Yusheng, Emperor Qin, and a few others were all quite talented in the dragon gods' macro world. Of course, it was only not bad. How vast was the great world of the dragon gods? How many dragon warriors were there? How strong were they? Yu Tianchang and the others, who were considered top-notch talents in the Dragon Martial Continent, could only be regarded as above average in the macro world of the dragon gods, not the strongest. As for those experts who had reached the 5th level of the Dragon Emperor, their talents were above average in the Dragon Martial Continent, but in the Dragon God clan, they could only be regarded as average talents. Because of this, if they could not reach the 5th level of the Dragon Emperor in the Dragon Martial Continent, their talents were completely below average in the macro world of the dragon gods, and there was no need to waste the resources of the macro world of the dragon gods. Some people would say that the cultivation resources of the Dragon Martial Continent were far inferior to those of the macro world of the dragon gods. If the Dragon Martial Continent was given the same cultivation conditions, there would be more dragon warriors in the Dragon Martial Continent who could reach the 5th level of the Dragon Emperor. However, it was important to know that cultivation resources were limited. The portion that could be distributed in the Dragon Martial Continent was also limited. Only the 4 major Dragon Martial Academies had rich Dragon Mark energy for the Dragon Warriors to absorb. There was no Dragon Mark energy in other places. As for the 4 major Dragon Martial Academies, only young Dragon Warriors with enough talent could join. Although some geniuses would be missed under the current selection system, on the whole, they were still good. Those who could join the Dragon Martial Academies were definitely the most talented batch in the Dragon Martial Continent. As for what level they would be in the macro world of the Dragon Gods, they would naturally be one level lower, and talent could indeed decide everything. There was no need to mention Yu Tianchang. After all, Yu Yaji, the dean of Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Academy, was her aunt. However, people like Emperor Qin and Feng Ligay were both ordinary geniuses in the country of the Dragon Emperor, and they did not have any background. Although Emperor Qin had lost to Yu Tianchang, his talent and strength were definitely not weak. Of course, Kang Xinmu did not like Emperor Qin very much, because he had seen Emperor Qin several times, and every time, he was too arrogant. Although his talent was top-notch in the Dragon Martial Continent, in the macro world of the Dragon Gods, Emperor Qin was only above average. Sooner or later, he would have to bow down to others, and to his peers. With his arrogant character, when the time came, he would bow down to others, but he would look down on his peers in the Dragon Martial Continent. How could Kang Xinmu admire him? As for Feng Ligay, it was said that this girl came from a lot of different backgrounds, and she did not soar to the sky in one go in Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Academy. Chapter 46-39. Qin Xiaoya and Zhu Wudi had said it before. If Kang Xinmu could defeat the two of them, then even if others tried to stop them, they would stand by Kang Xinmu's side and help Kang Xinmu take his friends away. So now, the two of them intended to fulfill their promise. Jiang Liuxue, Shi Yueying, Shi Yutong, let's go. Kang Xinmu looked at the 3 girls, smiled, and then waved his hand. He did not persuade Qin Xiaoya and Zhu Wudi. They were still in Donghuang Yangwu College, but in fact, they were not under Zhou Xiaofeng's jurisdiction. Instead, they were under the jurisdiction of the 2 elite Dragon Emperor mentors, Chu Yueqiang and Tan Shouzhua. These 2 Dragon Emperor mentors could not compete with Zhou Xiaofeng, but Zhou Xiaofeng did not dare to attack them. It was equivalent to the current Donghuang Yangwu College being divided into several factions. This kind of thing naturally had nothing to do with Kang Xinmu, and Kang Xinmu would not care about it. When Kang Xinmu waved, Jiang Liuxue and the Shi sisters did not hesitate and flew to Kang Xinmu. Then they looked at the 2 Dragon Emperor mentors. These 2 were the people behind Lord Long and also belonged to Zhou Xiaofeng's faction. Logically speaking, it was impossible for them to let the students go. But now, in public, were they going to stop Qin Xiaoya and Zhu Wudi and let them attack the genius students of Donghuang Yangwu College? That would be outrageous. The 2 Dragon Emperor mentors immediately pretended not to see it and did not want to care about this matter. But in the depths of their eyes, there was still a touch of coldness. It was obvious that this matter would not be settled so easily. Let's go. Under everyone's gaze, Kang Xinmu led the 3 girls, Qin Xiaoya, and Zhu Wudi toward the East Emperor formation. You don't have to send me off. Kang Xinmu smiled at Qin Xiaoya and Zhu Wudi. If you 2 see my 3 friends again in the future, please take good care of them. Don't let them be bullied. Of course. Qin Xiaoya blushed as she looked at Kang Xinmu and said with a smile, although my sisters have gone to Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Academy, we'll still be able to see each other often when we reach the Longwu Fortress. At that time, we might even be able to work together. She had also guessed that since Kang Xinmu brought them to Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Academy, he wanted Xiao Yuhua to bring them along. Although Qin Xiaoye didn't know why Kang Xinmu seemed to be leaving soon, she still agreed and didn't ask any questions. After all, even without Kang Xinmu, Xiao Yuhua and the rest were definitely not weaker than Qin Xiaoye. In terms of one-on-one combat strength, Xiao Yuhua and the rest were probably stronger than Qin Xiaoye. It was just that Qin Xiaoye and Zhu Wudi had joint attacks. In comparison, Xiao Yuhua and the rest did not have such powerful techniques. Of course, that was only the current situation. What was the biggest difference between Xiao Yuhua and the rest and ordinary students of the Dragon Martial Academy? Their talent and blood compatibility had reached around level 60. This meant that they could cultivate all the way to the Super Shenron stage without encountering any bottlenecks. Kang Xinmu had previously let the Black Dragon's consciousness observe the dragon martial artists and students of the Longwu fortress. He discovered that most of the dragon martial artists in the Longwu continent had blood compatibility around level 50. Among them, the students that were chosen to enter the Dragon Martial Academy were mostly around level 50 to 54. In other words, they would encounter a bottleneck when cultivating to the 4th level of the Dragon Emperor. As for the Dragon King and Dragon Emperor of the Longwu continent, they were even weaker. Their talent and blood compatibility were mostly around level 40. They couldn't even reach the Dragon Emperor. However, this kind of talent was already considered above average in the Dragon Martial continent. This time, Kang Xinmu returned to the Jiang clan and took a look. It turned out that most of the Jiang clan's talent and blood compatibility were only around level 40. In other words, there weren't many who could reach the level of the Dragon King, and they would encounter a bottleneck early on. This made Kang Xinmu puzzled. His father, Kang Xinmu, was definitely very strong. If even he could obtain the Black Dragon's consciousness, what was so special about the Jiang clan? Even now, he could not figure it out. It seemed that even the Black Dragon's consciousness did not know what was going on. According to the demon god ancestor's consciousness, the Black Dragon's consciousness had always been imprisoned in the dragon's sealing abyss. Perhaps it was because of Kang Xinmu's father that it escaped from the dragon's sealing abyss and secretly hid in Kang Xinmu's body when Kang Xinmu awakened. Regardless, this matter was still a mystery. Perhaps even many of the mighty figures of the dragon god world did not know, so Kang Xinmu did not think too much about it. At this moment, Kang Xinmu looked at the crowd and said to Qin Xiaoye and Zhu Wudi, "The two of you, I will be heading to a place to cultivate soon. I might not be able to return for some time. Thank you for your help today. If not, I would have encountered quite a lot of obstacles if I wanted to take them away. Since that's the case, I'll tell the two of you a piece of news. Consider it your talent." Kang Xinmu had already let the Black Dragon's consciousness observe the people around him, and then tested their talent and blood compatibility. Among them, Qin Xiaoye was level 57, and Zhu Wudi was level 65. It could be seen that Qin Xiaoye would encounter a bottleneck when she reached the 7th level of the Dragon Emperor. Although it was a little difficult to reach the level of Super Shenron, it was not impossible. It depended on her personal luck. Zhu Wudi was amazing. He was stronger than Xiao Yuhua and the others, but not as good as Ran Ran, who was level 72. Qin Xiaoye, you can cultivate to the 7th level of the Dragon Emperor, and you will not encounter a bottleneck before that. Also, anyone at this level of talent will have some opportunities when they reach the 5th level of the Dragon Emperor and head to the Dragon God world. If you seize the opportunity, you can go to the next level. As for Zhu Wudi, you can smoothly break through to become a Super Shenron, but the process may be very difficult. Your talent and blood compatibility are extremely high. When you reach the Dragon God world, you may be focused on training, so you should be mentally prepared. These words, Kang Xinmu said to the two separately. After all, the two had different talents. If he said it directly, it might make Qin Xiaoye feel more uncomfortable. After all, her talent was still a little worse than Zhu Wudi's. The Dragon God world had a way to test the talent and blood compatibility of dragon warriors, but the resources were limited. Only the strong warriors who reached the 5th level of the Dragon Emperor were qualified to be tested. If they could not even reach the 5th level of the Dragon Emperor, what was the point of testing the talent and blood compatibility? Thank you. Qin Xiaoya and Zhu Wudi expressed their gratitude to Kang Xinmu. At the same time, they were also looking forward to it. Kang Xinmu said that if they reached the 5th level of the Dragon Emperor, they would be selected to cultivate in the Dragon God world. Kang Xinmu was just going there in advance. Of course, the places they were going to were different. No matter what, it was their future development path. Zhu Wudi was a little excited. He did not know how Kang Xinmu knew his talent and blood compatibility, but since Kang Xinmu said it, it must be accurate. Directly become a Super Shenron.